What's poppin', everybody? Welcome to Culture Popped Season 3, Episode 4. I'm here with my main man, as usual, Heavy D, a.k.a. Dolan, a.k.a. Drew, a.k.a. I Write Comics. What's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
Yeah, doing all right, man. Just hanging out. Like I said, I was watching the movie Old School. Hadn't seen that in a hot minute. Needed a good laugh today. Been busy nonstop approving art for various projects.
Fair.
It's insane just compared to my workload from a couple years ago. But yeah, I love it. I love staying busy. But I did make time to see this film, and I cannot wait to talk about this film.
Yeah. Because you loved it so much, right?
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
what you're... Okay, of
Oh,
course.
yeah. It's just slack-jawed with
Oh, yeah.
wonderment and amazement.
I feel like I've been influenced by an aspirational human being or something like that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We actually have some new faces. Well, a new face and a face that we haven't seen for a while that'll be joining us tonight. Aaron should be on his way. Again, I make it hard for him because he's over on, in Kami, California, and I'm like, oh, you're getting off work at 6? That's fine. We'll start at 6. But he should be joining us before too long. But we do have someone that's new to the channel, and I'm excited to bring him on. So he's a friend of ours, once again through Wes at Thinking Critical. I mean, that's kind of how all of this started and came from. But I am happy to have the real comic book gamer Dylan in the house. Uh-oh. We just lost Drew. But we got Dylan replaced. Drew's been kicked to the curb. He's a little we're not even 3 minutes in, so I'm just going to say B word. So we're kicking him to the curb. We're trading him in for Dylan. Dylan, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good now that I'm out of the theater, not watching this movie anymore,
Yeah, no, I feel you there. So for people that aren't familiar with you, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your channel, even some of your comic book background, your favorites. Give people just an idea of who you are.
Well, I grew up really enjoying comics because my library had just comics that people had donated, and that's how I got into it, because they just have bins of single issues. So like from ever since I was like 4 years old, that's how I got into reading comics. And more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy. Superman's my favorite, and I make all types of videos talking about comic books. And and I also, in the name, I like comic book video games as well. And lately I've been having fun going around Gotham and Arkham Knight, just talking about comic books while beating up bad guys and showing off mods, because there's all kinds of mods for Arkham Knight right now, which is crazy. You can be like Moon Knight going around Gotham. It's sick. So, yeah.
Nice. I think we have Drew back now as well. Oh, there we go. Welcome back, Drew. Dylan, Drew tends to die a couple of times during these streams. He's like Kenny from South Park. He just keeps coming back. But
I was gonna say Jason from Friday the 13th, but yeah.
Or that too. Yeah. I mean, you're a little bit faster than, well, I guess it depends on which Jason we're discussing.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Aaron should be joining us shortly. We might also have Jesse Blaze Snyder joining us. He was interested in joining the stream. He's another busy person, so we'll see if he's able to make it. But regardless, we have a lot to talk about tonight, because as you can see, we're going to be discussing Captain America Brave New World, all in its spoilerific gloriness. I've got a lot to say. I'm sure y'all have a lot to say. But before we get to that, let's hop into the comments and say hello to the peeps here. We've got Cage and Corey in the house. Did Falcon stop the Red Hulk by saying, "You got to do better, Red Hulk"? I don't
Essentially.
know. Did he? I mean, kind of. We'll get there because, ooh, buddy. JD Petty's in the house and wants to know, did Red Hulk's pants fall off in the middle of a fight scene? Well, that, like this film, would have been something. And then he put, just so it's clear, I'm referring to Mark Hamill's recent wardrobe malfunction. Oh, was that at the BAFTAs? I saw something was okay.
What happened?
I guess his pants
fell down in the middle of it. You can't see his pants falling. You just see him like put his arms all the way down, like pull him back up. He doesn't break though, like complete professional. He keeps reading what's going on, like just goes and just pulls his pants back up. So, pretty impressive.
Huh.
Bro needs a belt. Like, come on, man.
Or suspenders. Jeez. Come on. You got options.
Yeah, we have our favorite little retard in the chat. We've got Maxfield Von Priestley, the comic crusader himself, coming with hello. And then he's got, you're my boy, Blue. Oh man, we love you, Max. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Oh yeah, Drew definitely got kicked off the island. We also have Zax in the house. What's up, brother? Nice to see you. And yeah, we've got a Zax raid coming in. So UK Gamer, Connor Miller, oh no, Zack Snyder.
Oh,
Oh man. Well, thankfully we're not talking about that movie tonight. We have Jessica Bunny and UCub Saint. What's up, guys? Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. I hope you're ready to join the conversation. I will start this off by saying that I saw this Thursday night for its opening night. And Drew, I think you text our group chat first and were like, oh, I'm seeing Captain America in a few minutes. And I was like, OMG, me too. And I followed up with, tonight. I won't say what I put in the chat, but basically Captain America Brave New World. I didn't say Blapton America. I don't know what you're talking about. And then I put tomorrow Black Lives Matter. So anyway, went and saw the film. You guys have each seen the film. Have you seen it once, twice, three times a lady?
Once.
Once. Same. Dylan, same for you, once?
Yep, just once.
Yep. I had originally planned to see it twice, and then after watching it once, I was like, I don't need to. I'm okay.
More than enough.
Yeah, more than enough.
Nothing new to learn.
Yeah, at all. Before we start breaking down the film itself and discussing our thoughts on it, I do want to kind of go over just some high-level information that we've seen coming out of the weekend. Honestly, the film had a little bit better of an opening than I thought it would. It ended up pulling in 100 million domestic and 192 million worldwide. It's not a bad opening weekend. I think it was even higher than what projections had originally put it at, just a little bit higher. What we're gonna have to wait and see is what the drop off is, because I think it's gonna have a massive fall off going into its second weekend, and then just continue that trend that we've been seeing from a lot of these comic book films. It looks like they're very tremendously front heavy and then just falling off the board and kind of hitting streaming within a month to 2 months. Any estimates of what you guys think the drop off will be next weekend and what you think it will end with?
I'm predicting a 70% drop off. But honestly, I'm expecting that. I'm comparing this to BVS from back in 2016 because they pulled the same stunt that they did here with the reveal of Doomsday. They knew that BVS wasn't tracking that well, and they pulled the Doomsday card to get people in. And what they do here, they pulled the Red Hulk card, and the numbers weren't looking too good. But I'm kind of expecting the same similar kind of drop off. Probably 65% to 70% that BVS had. So I'm predicting probably the same percentage of drop off with this film.
Yeah. Dylan, do you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big drop off because I think the reason it's doing better than we all thought is one, it's a long weekend with President's Day.
Yep.
And there's no competition. And even though it's Falcon, Captain America is a recognizable name that the MCU hasn't had for a little bit because, you got like the Marvels and Shang-Chi, and it's like people don't really, but Captain America, people know Captain America. You can take your family to go see it on President's Day. Like, I think it has that little bump, but then that second weekend, I don't think it's going to do so high. I think it's going to have a big drop off.
Yeah, I know Drew said 65 to 70. I think it might actually be above 70. I think it got a huge bump because of the holiday weekend and because it's President's Day weekend and also Valentine's Day weekend. I think a lot of people are out to just do stuff. So I'm expecting a pretty massive drop off. And if I'm being honest, I don't know if I will. I'm not sure if this is actually going to pass 500 million at the worldwide box office. So
I'm guessing 350. It'll probably get.
I think it'll hit 4, but that could also be lofty thinking. JD Petty is in the chat and put, "It won't drop off, you birthday party clowns. It'll surpass Winter Soldier." Of course, of course it will. But yeah, again, solid opening weekend. I don't think it's going to hold. I don't think it's going to hit 500 million worldwide. And that will be the ultimate tell of how people feel about this film. In addition to this, I think part of the reason that this isn't going to do as well at the theaters is when it was released, CinemaScore released their rating for it, and it got a B- from CinemaScore. And for those of you that don't know how CinemaScore works, these are actual ratings from people who saw the movie at the theater on their way out. They rate it, and B- is the lowest an MCU film has ever gotten from CinemaScore. So lower than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, lower than the Eternals, lower than Shang-Chi. I don't hate, huh?
Lower than Love and Thunder?
Lower than Love and Thunder, lower than the Marvels. Like, this is
lower
the
than World
lowest.
of Wakanda? Wow.
Whoa. We all know how I feel about that film. Aaron says he's thinking 430 million worldwide. Interesting. Aaron, you've got the link in your Twitter.
Aaron, get in here. Come on.
I'm like, wait a second. I saw the comment before I realized who it was, and I was like, what's going on? And if you text, I'm sorry, I haven't looked at my phone. But yeah, B- CinemaScore. For me, when I saw this, I was like, oof, this is the writing on the wall. Did you two feel the same way? Oh, Aaron didn't see the movie. That's
what was the reaction for you guys in the theaters? Like, what would you gauge that? Like, when were people laughing? Were people
no?
My theater people were loving it.
Really?
I was surprised. Yeah, because I thought the jokes and everything this were horrible. I don't think one joke made me laugh in the entire movie, but like my theater they were loving it.
Yeah, I would say for me and my buddy I went with, Spencer Boykin, neither of us laughed, and the audience did not laugh because people, if you're in the chat and you haven't seen this yet, there's a lot of jokes in this film. There's a lot, and I did not laugh once. Neither did my buddy Spencer. Neither did my theater, and it was just like, whew, these jokes are rough. They're not landing. But it's interesting to see that they work with Dolan in his theater.
Yeah. I feel like I smirked once, but I can't remember what the joke was or what it was pertaining to. So I was like, eh.
There was one part that made me laugh, but it wasn't a joke. It was when Sam goes to visit him and he says, "Brother Sam." That was so corny.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, Brother Sam. Oh my God.
We'll dig into this a little.
I will say I was laughing unintentionally with a certain female character and how she was flinging around 300-pound guys. That's what got me laughing.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna get there. Don't worry about that. JD Petty said, "An MCU movie with jokes? What?" Yeah, it was not a funny film. I saw it. I think it was the 7:00 showing Thursday night, and I think there were maybe 10 people in my theater for an IMAX. So, not that for me was interesting because I usually go Thursday nights. I usually do the Thursday night preview, typically because it is a little bit smaller of an audience, but it's also more of a respectful audience than the Friday night. Because Friday night's a lot of kids and talking and all sorts of stuff. But it was a much smaller audience than I was expecting. And no reactions throughout the entire film from my audience. Not a gasp, not a clap, not a laugh, nothing. So it was pretty low energy, like the film itself. Let's go ahead and start moving into the actual deep dive of the movie, and we'll kind of start breaking it down because I know we have a lot that we want to say about a lot of different things. But just a real quick overview in case you don't know what the film's about or what's happened leading up to this. We had a film called The Eternals. It was not met with much fanfare. Was at the time considered the worst film in the MCU. Man, how we've fallen from there, because that looks like a masterpiece compared to some of these films. I'm looking at you, Thor: Love and Thunder and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But the plot kind of revolves around this celestial that died as it was being birthed from the earth, because it has now created a new substance, which we'll I guess you can see there adamantium, and now it's become like a arms race type thing of who is going to claim this island that they're calling Celestial Island. That's about as on the nose as unobtainium in Avatar. So good job, guys. But you've got Sam Wilson, who is given the shield at the end of Avengers Endgame. We had Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is about him accepting his role as Captain America. And now he's got to kind of team up with General Ross, who, there's a bad history there. Who's General, and Ross is now the president. And of course, we know that Ross is going to be Red Hulk because we saw it all through the previews, the marketing, everything else. So without going into a deep dive, just real quick, I want to hear each of your general thoughts of the movie. If you could just sum it up in like a paragraph, like what did you think coming out of it?
You want to go first?
Oh, Dylan, go for it.
I would say if I was pitching this to someone, I'd be like, do you want an Incredible Hulk sequel, but with no Hulk and 2 Falcons? Then do I have the movie for you? Because that's what this is. And that's basically how I'd summarize this movie. That's so weird, like 16 years later to do an Incredible Hulk movie without Hulk. I have no idea. But yeah, that's if I had to summarize it as short as possible, that's how I'd summarize this movie.
Yeah, agreed. Drew, what about you?
I would summarize this as the sequel to The Incredible Hulk, but with a plot dumber than The Winter Soldier.
I mean, yes, dumber than Winter Soldier is an understatement. Which brings me, and I'll give my thoughts in a second, but the amount of people that I saw this weekend calling this in the spirit of Winter Soldier, and it made me want to either throw up or...
It wants to be. It wants to be.
I mean, there's a lot of people today that want to be a lot of things, and it doesn't make it true, and that's the same with this film. Yeah, it definitely was, I guess you could say it was Winter Soldier's cousin with Down syndrome.
Yes, I was saying Leader makes Baron Zemo look like the smartest man in the universe.
Oh, man. Yeah, pretty much. No, I'll just say that I was expecting, and I'm just going to put this out there, I love espionage type stories. I love spy type things, anything like that. And in that vein, it's hard to make me dislike that type of material because I'm so fond of it that I usually forgive it a lot. And this, I came in hoping for the best. I was thinking if we can get, some TV shows, Night Agent, The Shield, even The Recruit, which I think isn't that great, that managed to do this type of espionage type thing well, they can't mess this up, right? They can't mess this up. And they greatly messed it up. So I remember walking out being like, man, that was half baked and super sluggish. And I don't care about anything that happened. So, not not a good film. Aaron Sparrow comes in with Josh. The movie identifies as a good film. It identifies as a good film.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we know this film was reshot a few times. Now, I'm wondering if this was the intended original plot of the film, or if most of this was the intended original plot.
So a lot of this was, Drew, I don't know if you can remember, we talked about, this film well over a year ago as they were filming, because we covered a lot of the stuff that was coming out from just set leaks and then just information I was getting. The fact that this was going to utilize adamantium, that it was going to come from the Celestial, that's pretty much been there since day one. Even though it doesn't feel like it, I know that the Red Hulk was intended to be here from day one. But it feels like such a Hail Mary, like, we got to do something to save this film, throw this in at the end. And that was originally there. The Serpent Society was always supposed to be there, although it got changed. We'll talk about that later. It seems like, generally speaking, this is kind of what they wanted, but I think it went through so many rewrites. And I think you probably had different writers coming in thinking that different elements were kind of the more interesting points, and they tried to lean into those more. And then you got a script that was way too bloated and then had to be cut, and then you got a script that just felt anemic across the board because it didn't fully go into anything. That's my thought.
And you can tell there's clearly a lot of scenes where it felt like there was a lot of ADR going on. Like if you look closely, it really felt like there was a lot of stuff changed dialogue wise.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of ADR. You can see a lot of green screen. There's a lot of shots where
too much green screen. Almost everything is green screen.
Well, yeah. I mean, like we know that they did multiple reshoots, and there's so many shots where you can see an actor and they're clearly standing in front of a green screen, but all that's behind them is like a parking lot. So it's like, why are you green screening this?
Well, straight out the gate, the quality is really bad because that opening fight scene, they CGI'd a horrible version of Anthony Mackie's head on a stuntman. It's like, do you not have a stuntman that looks just somewhat like him? It was so jarring when he's going around beating those guys up. It's like, it's like a cartoon head on the stuntman. It was so, and then it doesn't get better from there.
So pretty much everything with Giancarlo Esposito was that last final reshoot, bring him in, get this in. So everything involving him was that, like, when we heard about that last set of reshoots right at the very end, that was that. Because he wasn't originally in the film. So Aaron's saying the Serpent Society in name only, and Seth Rollins was cut. It was Seth Rollins and another actress.
No, he wasn't. He was never in the film. They never stuff. He was never supposed to be there.
So the director actually talked about that and said that that change and to bring Giancarlo Esposito in instead, the way that they did, was because they felt what they had filmed with Seth Rollins and their original take on the Serpent Society felt too comic booky for what they were trying to do with a grounded and realistic story.
You have a movie with a fucking Red Hulk in it.
That was my thought, and I was like, I mean, yeah, come on, man. But oh yeah, I don't know. There's so much to say. I spent so much time trying to figure out how we're gonna navigate through this conversation because there's so much to say, and I was like, dude, I just want to like word vomit everything. But yeah, let's go ahead and kind of talk about the fact that I do feel like this is very much a retread of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, congratulations. It is not a good series. It's got some good it's got some good moments, but all the good moments are either Bucky or Baron Zemo, and neither of those people are, well, one person shows up for like a minute. But they play no role in the story. So everything that was good from that show is gone. So you're just left with the crap. And unfortunately, we didn't move forward. We spent that whole miniseries with Sam trying to accept the fact that he's Captain America and if he should or shouldn't take the super soldier serum. And I'm like, thank God we're past that. And then we get to this film, and what do? We do nothing but dwell in how he's not Steve. He doesn't know if he even should be Captain America and if he should or shouldn't have taken the super soldier serum. So we have gone nowhere with this character. Dylan, any thoughts on just the retread of this?
It feels like they're not confident that people watch the show on Disney Plus. Feels like, oh, we gotta show, we gotta let everyone know what's going on with Sam, because probably not a whole lot of people going to see this movie actually watch that show. And that was so upsetting because that was when the initial slate of Disney Plus shows were announced. I didn't really care for any of them, except this was the one I was excited for, and the show was terrible. And now we're going through all this, and they tried to make Sam something he's not instead of trying to build him up there. They're like, he's already just like Steve, where he's so inspirational. And it's like, but he's never been that. We've seen this character. He's existed in this universe.
What do you mean he's so inspirational?
Yeah, it's like, when? Ever? He's never been inspirational. But yeah, I've hated Falcon and the Winter Soldier so much. I thought that show was terrible. I don't even remember much of that happening. I just remember the ginger girl that I hated so much, and I just wish she would have died from the beginning.
Oh man!
And yeah, I remember the horrible speech at the end that Falcon gives, where it's like, we can't kill terrorists because I don't even remember the reason why. Well, but he like he
was saying that they weren't terrorists, and I'm like, bro, they're like bombing buildings with innocent people. They're terrorists. Yeah. And then he had the "do better, Senator" speech in the last episode.
And I guarantee you, there were probably elements of that stuff that were in this film that they cut. I guarantee you, there were speeches that were cut.
Absolutely. The guy
Yeah.
that wrote Falcon and the Winter Soldier was the original script writer for this film. So
yeah, I remember seeing like an article when that was announced that he was going to be helping write this movie, and that was when I instantly knew this was not going to be anything good. 'Cause that show was so bad.
I will say, and I'll touch on this in more depth later, I was a little surprised that Sharon Carter was not in this film.
I thought
But
she died in the TV series.
mm-mm.
Oh
No, she's still around as the power broker, which, you know, you got a giant celestial coming out of the earth with adamantium covering its body. And there's a power play of who's going to get the adamantium. It just kind of would make sense.
Between only two nations, between only Japan and America, what the hell is this?
No,
you mean to tell me China wouldn't be involved? You mean to tell me that
whoa,
Saudi Arabia wouldn't be involved? You mean to tell me that Africa wouldn't be involved? Wakanda wouldn't be involved in this? They wouldn't be pissed about there's another element that's stronger than their shit? Come on now.
Wakanda especially should have been involved.
Yes.
But we can't, Drew, we can't have China. We've got to sell tickets in China. We can't have China being the opposing figure.
Right.
Come on now.
That's right.
And there were two other nations. There was France, and was it Israel?
It was India, I think.
That's right. It was India. Yeah, France and India were at the table as well. So oh man. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on coming in, that I was really hoping we were going to move forward from that and get kind of like a proactive Sam Cap. And dude, we did not. We just sunk right back into that same role. Max, but Steve Rogers, I could do this all day. Sam Wilson, let's hurry this shit up. Let's hurry this up. I got shit to do.
Yeah. He's got to go to the bar and get beers. Yeah.
And Bush is coming in with Black Equals inspirational February. I mean, you know, without trying to be that guy, that's definitely what they were going for, but even failed to do that in a responsible way, I'll say. So yeah. So Dylan, you were talking about how they keep talking about that Sam's so inspirational and he's done nothing to show it. And I felt the same way. Like it's like what they've been doing in comic books when we get these secondary or version 2.0 or 3.0 or 4.0 of a character. And you've got everyone telling you how fantastic they are, how gifted they are, how great they are, how much better they are than the original. And that's what this film did. And I was trying to think back of a moment where I felt like Sam really was inspirational in previous films that felt natural. And it was his introduction in Winter Soldier when he was leading those discussion groups with the veterans. And I was like, y'all should have gone right back to that and just leaned into that. Like, it's a crazy world we lived in. We just survived a blip. I know some of us don't like the blip, but it happened. You know, things are chaotic in this world. We have a quote unquote God that is coming up out of the earth. Like, you know, have him just be there as support of the people. Like, he's one of the people. Let him be one of the people. And that's what makes him inspirational. He's one of the people and then puts his life on the line without any powers. You know, without, you could even have this narrative of people don't think I should be Captain America and have 3 or 4 reasons. But we didn't get that.
Yeah, especially straight out the gate, he's Captain America. It even threw me for a loop for a second when they had that news broadcast. Like, Captain America, and it shows a picture of Falcon. I was like, oh, wait, yeah, he's Captain America now. But it was weird. It's like, oh, the entire world's already accepted him. So why is this a big deal if everyone's like, the entire movie, everyone's like, Cap, Cap, Cap. So I don't know why it's really a plot point when everyone already accepts him as Captain America. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But the movie doesn't really understand show, don't tell. It's a big problem writing in general right now, where a lot of times if you have a new character like doing something, you got to have a lot of people telling you how cool they are instead of actually showing you, which they could have showed you. They could have tried to build him up, because he hasn't really been built up a whole lot since Winter Soldier. In the TV show, he kind of just gave speeches and failed pretty badly at stopping a terrorist group, and that was it. He wasn't very inspirational. And this, we don't really get much of that. He's already got everything. We don't see him earn it. That's the problem with this movie. It would have been cool to actually see how he earned it. Like, everyone there, all of those people respect him. Like, the SEAL team respects him. Everyone. It's like, would have been cool to see him maybe face some adversity and have to earn it, but he doesn't. He's just already got it all.
Well, that's you know, I would have been fine had we had 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of this film showing him just working with different military factions, working with the president before Ross gets elected, going on missions, doing things, trying to be kind of what the government tried to make Steve back in the 40s. Like, yeah, they wanted him as a super soldier, but then that whole process failed, at least for having multiple. So he just became like the mascot. And even if you wanted to make him the mascot, but still let him do action and stuff, that could have worked. If you would have seen him just day after day doing the grind and working with these guys, this is what Captain America represents now, working with these, my nation to help the world, whatever. It would have helped set it up. And you could have had a moment of showing, because they show Ross before the election campaigning anyways. They could have shown him watching Ross get elected, and you could have set that story up right then of him be like, oh God, because he has such a negative history with Ross and because of the Sokovia Accords and all that happened. But we didn't get that. Drew, do you feel like if you had that set up with Sam, it would have helped a little bit in the beginning?
Yeah, a little bit, but like you guys have already said, I hate to piggyback off you guys, but I mean, he didn't really earn anything in this. Everything was handed to him, and by the end of the film, he's literally Combo Man from comics. He's got all the different powers and other attributes that other heroes in the Avengers have. It's like he's not really his own person anymore. He's not the Falcon anymore. He's not Captain America anymore. He's like Ant-Man, Captain America, Falcon, Black Panther, all merged in one. And it's just like, there's nothing unique about you anymore. And you needed everyone else to be successful. Congratulations. I love all the ideas you guys brought up earlier, and that's what they should have done, and they didn't.
Yep. Bush is putting it's the basis for good writing, Josh. Tell, don't show. That was my thing, and we're gonna go into some of the subplots here in a second, but everything was just like, tell, don't show, and we needed the show. Like not only that, it was tell, but there was no setup to what they were telling you. They're just like, oh, by the way, this is going on. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you get 5 more instances of, oh, by the way, this is going on. You're like, holy shit, guys, where's the first act of your film? Like, it's gone. So, but yeah, for me, he felt out of character. He wasn't as inspirational as they were trying to make him out to be. And because of that, it prevented him from feeling like the lead in his own film, which that's problematic. But also, Drew, you mentioned that he's not established yet. And to make matters worse with this movie, everything around him, aside from Joaquin Torres, is established from other characters in other films. So it's only another example of this not really being his film, and not really being a basis of him as a character. And that's a detriment to the film.
I will say one thing that they should have done, one character that they should have brought in, had more time with, Isaiah Bradley. I would have loved to have more time with him. Like maybe if he's out there fighting with Sam, maybe that had happened. That would have been fun. That would have been pretty cool to see. But we didn't get that.
I was actually, and we'll talk about Isaiah in depth in a bit, but I was actually okay with the amount of time we had with him. I didn't like the dialogue that they had for some of his scenes, because it just made him seem
pretty cringe-inducing, some of the lines of dialogue.
Yeah. I want to move on to the fact that, we had the Eternals come out around COVID time, didn't do well. A lot of people didn't respond to it. Some people thought it was the best film in the MCU. We won't name names. I will say I liked the themes of Eternals, but I didn't think the execution was good at all. And I thought, what's her name that played the lead was stale toast. But we had this whole celestial thing that happened. We got the celestial just coming out of the ocean. You can see it here. And we've gone 5 years, essentially. And no acknowledgement, no discussion, no answer. People going like, are you ever going to address this? Because you've got a giant celestial sticking out of the earth. And then now that we do get it, I kind of wish that we didn't. I wish they would have just pretended like it didn't happen. Because one, we know we're not getting another Eternals film. So it's almost like, why are we doing this? But two, the fact that they're using this to introduce adamantium really annoys the hell out of me. And I knew it was coming, but I hadn't fully thought through it until I watched the film. And we have literally Celestial Island covered in adamantium. And I mean, if you know anything about comic book lore, you know one of the things about adamantium is it's supposed to be scarce. And now we have a freaking like island continent size piece of land that is pretty much nothing but that. So, one, are you guys going to rewatch the Eternals with this development? And two, do you also have issues with the fact that there's so much freaking adamantium now?
Yeah, it's dumb that there's so much adamantium. That I don't know who decided that this was a good idea to introduce adamantium in the MCU. This is so. It feels like they're just like, we got to do something with that celestial out there, and someone's just like, why not have that be how adamantium gets introduced? And that they're just like, great idea, and that's just how it happened. It felt like there's no real thought put into this. It's really stupid, and we're going to be seeing a ton of adamantium now in the future of the MCU because there's so much.
It's going to be the Wakanda effect. Everyone and their dog has vibranium thanks to Wakanda now, and now everyone and their dog is going to have adamantium, and it's going to make characters like Wolverine less special because it's going to be one of those things that, like, yes, people want to get their hands on it, but they can't. So haha. But yeah. Drew, I believe you were the one that said the Eternals was your favorite film. So did you get bricked up when you saw this in Captain America?
Yeah, there's a lot of leaning over and crossing my legs because I was just like, oh, finally, after 5 long years, we got it. Finally got it. But I honestly, I was expecting this to be nothing more than the new Avengers base, like they did in the comics with Jason Aaron eventually. But maybe that's gonna be the play in the next coming couple years. But yeah, like you just said, maybe most likely. It's just a shame, like you said, that there's so much adamantium now that it makes Wolverine very less special, and it just that's what made adamantium so cool. It was because it was so rare, and he was so rare to have survived the experience of it, and that's all gone. The word special is gone. It means the word special means nothing anymore in the Marvel universe.
No. Dylan, you're asking who thought of this. It was Brad. I think his name's Brad Winterbond, something like that. And unfortunately, he is taking over to solo produce some of these MCU films. So I think we might get more of it. What I will say that I will give them credit for to a degree, I thought this film did somewhat well, is I think part of the problem that they've had with Phase 4 and part of Phase 5, aside from just, shit quality, is it's felt like there's no connection going on. And at least this film felt like there was a connection to the greater MCU. But when you fumble the ball as bad as they did here, it then becomes a detriment, not a benefit. And that's what happened here with this. Oh, we have someone joining us. Oh, maybe not.
Oh.
We'll see. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, hey, we have Jesse Blaze Snyder in the house. What's up, brother?
How's it going, brother? I'm so sorry. I can't seem to get my camera to work.
You're okay, man. If you're an avatar, that's perfectly fine.
Yes, this is the avatar of my podcast, Coolest Geek Alive, every Wednesday.
Heck yeah.
If you'd like to join me. How's it going? We got Drew here and then Dylan. Dylan, have we met before, brother?
I don't think so.
Well, nice to meet you, man. How's it going?
Likewise. Going good.
Well, what's the general consensus? Have we've all seen the film?
We've all seen the here. I'll do a quick catch up. We've all seen the film. We all loved it. 10 out of 10. Best movie ever. No, we're
better than Eternals. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that because Eternals. The Eternals' biggest crime is that it's boring.
I like Eternals. I don't think it's better than Eternals at all.
Really? Oh,
I mean, like,
there's
things that I hate about Eternals fundamentally. Like,
yes.
As a true fan, like, Eternals just sort of like makes me sad. I just Eternals sadness. But seeing it, like with all of these movies, I always try to lower my expectation as much as humanly possible before I go in. If I think that I'm probably not going to like it, if I think that I'm gonna like it, then I try to avoid everything and just go see it fresh and get the most out of it. But if I think that I won't like it, I do try to absorb the impact of the blow. So with Eternals, I spoiled everything for myself, and with a lot of these movies, I spoil everything for myself. I think at a certain point I stopped with Captain America: Brave New World because I was like, all right, well, let's hope for the best. And going in with this hope for the best sort of attitude, I will usually get a lot more out of the ones that are most maligned, like Eternals. I really kind of liked. I hated Quantum Mania for like a lot of reasons.
Same.
That one really rubbed me the wrong way in so many different fashions and bothered me as a fan of the franchise. Like it was just like, where's Louise and the crew? They should be working like monkeys on the other side of things, trying to get them out of the microverse. There should have been some aspect to make it feel like the other films. They really kind of just left behind everything that made that series great. I really liked that series and had been charmed by it and rewatched it. So, that to me was crushing. That was like a dagger to the heart. Eternals, I kind of got over it. I was like, well, there's some things about this that I enjoyed. But I will say just in general, and this applies to this film in ways as well. Marvel is not the only one who's guilty of this. DC, all these different franchises are. When you have a visual that has been advertised to millions and millions, probably billions of people at this point, even if it's something as sort of, not mainstream as the Eternals. Some people know what Icarus looks like. Some people would recognize that blonde hair, would recognize even some version of Sidewinder in the trailer. There's like this perfect moment in Captain America where, you just like, there's certain times where it's like, why not just lean into the racism here? Get Crossbones in here and go, oh, we got a colored Captain America now, or whatever. And and have him go up against it. Like, I couldn't believe that they were framing it as this big guy is a threat to Captain America. And then Captain America is supposed to be fighting the Red Hulk later on in the movie. And you're just like, man, power dynamics, they have just lost the plot when it comes to how these sorts of things are supposed to work. What is the audience supposed to think about anything? There's no dimension to the violence and what is on display, what can be done. It's just sort of like, oh, he's got a bunch of these toys. Okay. So I don't know. So where do you guys fall? I mean, is this because I wouldn't say this is the worst movie. I think it's the most
Yeah. So we're
movie ever.
Yes. Yeah. It's not the worst. It's just the blandest Marvel film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jesse, we're kind of working our way through different I guess subtopics, and you're still pretty early in the discussion because all we've really talked about is the stuff that retreads in this film from Falcon and Winter Soldier that already wasn't great. We talked about the fact that we had everyone telling us how great Sam was, but we never got anything that showed us how great Sam was. And then other than,
Can I double down on your like? Oh, this was so aggravating in the Black Panther comics when Reginald Hudlin, I think it was, who had taken over for a little while, and he just constantly had people telling us how awesome Black Panther was. And if you were a reader like me, and like Black Panther is one of my favorite characters, you were just like, I know I am reading Black Panther. Make him cool by doing things.
Yep.
And this movie had an even more interesting thing that happened because by having everybody call him Captain America to make this point, it actually eroded some of his credibility as the film went on. It seemed that nobody knew him personally and was doing anything for personal reasons because Sam Wilson is a good man and I should do something for Sam. I really thought they robbed his character. I want to like these films. There is a world where I think Falcon could become Captain America, and it's great. But this isn't it.
Yeah,
This isn't it.
not at all. And then the only other thing we got onto after that was just the fact that the introduction of adamantium and the fact that this kind of makes the Eternals required viewing for a lot of people that could stand to not see it. But I think if you kind of come into this without seeing it, you're like, what the hell is going on? Where did this space being come from? What is that space being? Why is this important? But
can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Like when they did the early phases, the Infinity Gauntlet phases of the films, right? I wouldn't say this was necessarily a completely strategic thing on their part, but it is a strategy that they would really need to take into the future when trying to combine these elements. Largely, things that were contained to the universe of this character, that character, were resolved and maintained in that universe. You didn't have to follow that story into other movies. The movies were eventually brought together by the fact that ultimately a number of them had links to the Infinity Gems. So there was a sort of loose connection to all of them that eventually gave reason for them to cross over. The newest strategy, which one of the, I will say, maybe a panic strategy. For all we know, this might not have been a part of early drafts of Captain America and early ideas about how they were going to bring forth the storyline with this celestial being in the ocean. But to have something like this have to carry over into other films when it wasn't particularly well received, when not as much of the audience saw it, we have this sort of dwindling Marvel connected universe at the moment, and now required viewing is of films that we're not necessarily hearing the best things about. Oh boy, they're in a lot of trouble with that, and I really kind of felt like this movie. My girlfriend just kept turning to me and going, "Why am I supposed to care about this?"
Yep.
Like I had an additional answer, like I was going to be like, "Oh, well, you see." And I kept turning to her going, I don't know. I don't care about anything happening right now. And like, it's all just like this like mixed stew of shit that's like, yeah, that was from the Eternals movie. Like, fuck, the people who didn't see that are confused.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this giant thing in the ocean?
I mean, you're not wrong.
This was a Frankenstein put together film with all these different plot ideas strung together to make this film. You have a little bit of the Hulk, a little bit of the Eternals, Captain America. It's just like none of this really meshes well together.
A lot of and some of it you could have made mesh together. Like, as much as I don't like the fact that this is the introduction to adamantium and you have so much of it, whatever. It is what it is. It's what they're doing. I do think it's a little bit of a disservice because I think it's almost kind of more of a prideful take of look what we're doing, as opposed to like, hey, let's try to stay true to the comics. But it's here.
To add to that, Josh, the big thing that started this too was the 5-year gap thing, the blip. Like, he didn't know what he was doing, but essentially that was sort of like a bridging point where a point of divergence from the continuity of the comic books. The moment they had to address that in these major ways, led to a bunch of stories that essentially the fans never asked for, didn't really need to experience. These are things that could have been sort of like done away with in some easier way, and they went out of their way to make it this pointed bit. This is the defining moment of the Marvel Universe, and I really think that was a big mistake, and just has made everything that much easier to sort of fall apart from any sort of basis in continuity that the audience might be interested in. And it's just made it way easier for them to go, all right, we're off the beaten path now. Fuck it, and
Yeah.
who wants that?
Yeah. I do want to hit a few comments real quick before we move on to the next talking point, because I do think we're kind of leading that way anyways. But Max came in with 36 people in here watching live on YouTube. We have 79 people total watching between YouTube and Twitter. But make sure you guys, if you're on the Twitter, the X side, come over to YouTube, hit the like button. We'll greatly appreciate it. And Aaron is answering the question of why we needed so much adamantium. And he said we needed adamantium island so that Falcon could get a suit that makes him not a joke.
See, but
There may be some truth to that. I mean, he's already got vibranium, so I mean, we might as well just throw adamantium on him, right?
Yeah.
But we have Zach's coming in with that celestial hand is in a perfect position to cup some Galactus nuts.
Can I just say something about that? Because it's not fair. Like Captain Steve Rogers has never been asked to fight the Hulk in his main stories. Like that's not like a usual thing. When occasionally that happens, it's like, shit, it's the Hulk. This is another level of something. We may need assistance in some level. One-on-one against the Red Hulk. It just doesn't make any sense. Looking at the poster, I had said something. I was talking about it on the podcast at some point, and I just said, as a fan, looking at the poster for Captain America facing off against the Red Hulk, and I just go, this is not a promise fulfilled.
Yeah.
When you see the poster for X-Men years ago, it was a promise fulfilled. No matter what the costume, no matter what there it is, some version of the X-Men. At this point, nobody was going, man, I'm just dying to get that Sam Wilson Captain America, and I can't wait until I see that classic story of him fighting the Red Hulk, because that's the one that I've been saying. What are we talking about here? And it's like we've just kind of lost the plot for all intents and purposes to what they're supposed to be doing. Fundamentally, you bought, say, a company like Disney. We've bought these entities. We spent billions of dollars on this so that we could capitalize on a built-in audience who loves to buy things based on all this great content that has been made. And we're just going to call an audible.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And to a degree, I think that's fine. But at some point, you've got to kind of at least stick with what the comics gave you. Like, I understand not wanting to be completely predictable, but when you just completely go off the rails or subvert expectations just for the sake of subverting expectations, sometimes you are robbing people of what they genuinely want to see take place on film. Like, yeah, we know what's coming, but we want it to happen. And we get robbed of that sometimes, and yeah, it's not a promise that was made in comics for us to get delivered here as far as Cap and Red Hulk go. Real quick, I do want to just hit a few more of these comments, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. So Jesse, I know you weren't here at the beginning. I've got different talking points, so we're just going to run through those and kind of stick to those, and then at the end, if we have anything else to add, we will. I do want to say hello to Boosh. He's here. We've got Cannoli Sasquatch in the house. We've got Gooch coming in with yo, what's up, everybody? And we have Kaiser or Michael Salo coming in with sup, guys. Dead silence in my theater. It was, like I said, dead silence in mine as well. Even afterwards, yeah, just not a lot of conversation. I do want to move on to the next topic, and that's really going to be the fact that there are so many subplots in this, and too many subplots. And look, I'm the guy that loves a lot of character threads. If you want me to get invested in a film series, give me some character plots, let them kind of run through the story, and we get that here. But the problem is, this film is so half baked from a script standpoint that it does this film a disservice. Now, you've got some characters here that they're all kind of seen, but I want to go through most of these one by one, and we'll just kind of discuss them, what worked, what didn't work. And if we're going to do that, we have to start with General Ross, or President Ross, I should say. So just real quick, and I'll start with Dylan, but were you excited to see Ross or no?
I wasn't excited to see Ross, but I will say coming out of the movie, like he was the only part of the movie I liked. I thought he had a decent character arc. I liked what they did with him. They took a character that seemed from other movies was irredeemable, gave him a nice little character arc, had a sweet little ending with him. I was like, I kind of like this. And Harrison Ford didn't like phone it in. He actually gave it his all, which was cool. So he was like the one aspect of the movie where like I actually like what's going on with Ross.
Yeah, you talking about him not phoning it in? That was the one thing I was really nervous about was Harrison Ford stepping in. And if I'm being honest, I still would have liked to have seen what William Hurt would have done. I know he's passed away. I get it. But
He was great.
yeah, like I really would have liked to have seen him get something that he can really just dig into, and I think he would have been able to in this. But
Big time.
I
Have you seen him in the comics? Like he looked so quintessential, but he
Yeah.
even had a bigger stature. I feel like he brought like a stature to it that that I don't know. I really like William Hurt's thing. I was a little bummed out when he passed away.
Same. And I've liked William Hurt for years. I remember when I first saw him in Children of Lesser God, and I've been a fan since then. But yeah, a little sad, but I was so like after Indiana Jones, after seeing Harrison Ford, it's kind of like I really don't want to do this with Star Wars. I thought we were gonna get the biggest phoned in performance, and he actually tried. And I've got a friend that's involved with like more major mainstream media outlets, and he got to see the premiere of this. And I reached out and I texted and I was like, hey, just real quick thoughts. But one of the comments he made was like, hey, Harrison Ford actually tried. And I was like, oh, thank God. Drew, did you feel happy with his performance?
Yeah, no, I agree with Dylan. I really feel like he was the one actor in this film that I really enjoyed. I agree. He was actually trying in this, and we can tell at this point with Harrison Ford when he's just phoning in or trying, and he was actually trying in this. And yeah, I appreciate that. And for the most part, I enjoyed his performance. Toward the end, that's where like it started going off the rails a little bit, and but it was good. Really, really, really good. And
The writing though, not necessarily him.
what's that?
The writing like just was weak. Like it's like when
Yes, no, I agree. It's like this shows you what a great actor can do when you have a lesser impressive script. He was able to make those lines and bring some gravitas to those lines, and which made them stronger in a sense. And but yeah, I feel like he was the best part of this film.
I agree. I do think he was the best part of the film, and I plan on kind of bringing up what Jesse just mentioned too. The writing really failed this, and I think it's a situation where, if we're being honest, the lead of this film should have been Ross. I mean, so much of what's going on is centered around his character and not Sam's.
That would have been more interesting.
Say that again.
I said that would have been more interesting.
100%.
It was the Red Hulk film.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that I mentioned earlier, Jesse, right before you got on, was like, it would have been nice if we had gotten a setup, or at least more of a setup, leading into this. Like we saw Ross, like when he was campaigning before the election, and then he got elected president. But it would have been nice to see just some of the stuff leading up to this of Sam kind of working with the military, working with the president, Ross getting elected, and there already being like a little tension just from the word go because of their history and the Sokovia Accords. But it also would have been nice seeing like just more of Ross stepping into the role as president, like, kind of getting set, getting in place, his history, what is he pushing for, a little bit more. If I had to hear about the treaty just as a throwaway line, I've got to protect the treaty. If I had to hear that again, I was going to lose my mind, because there was never any further discussions about what the actual treaty was, what it was called, what we were doing. They were just like, we can't really talk about it because we got to have this scene here where he mentions adamantium and Captain America. But I wanted more of that actual setup. And we're talking about all these, the writing and the subplots, but we essentially have a whodunit story without actually setting up any suspense, any like intrigue, any mystery. None of that happens. So even if you didn't have this beginning stuff to set up the story, the fact that we then get to this scene And you have Isaiah Bradley and we'll talk about Isaiah in a second, but he tries to assassinate Ross, and there's other people there that try to do the same thing. And it's like, oh, your inner circle's compromised, but we never do anything to like play into that. And for me, that was disappointing.
Before we move on from Ross, can we talk quick about the mustache paradox?
Yes, let's talk about the stash.
Because I mean, I've kind of done some like writing in my own mind to make up for this thing here, because I mean, his performance is not phoned in. His performance is great. At the same time, well, first a question to you guys: does anybody know, was he ever president in the comics?
No.
Okay, see, because I'm like, I never remember that story. So that's strange to me in the first place. And the Red Hulk thing in the comics, if you guys followed that at all, was very frustrating because of the fucking mustache situation. The mustache was such a part and parcel Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross sort of thing for forever. And in order to disguise him, he had a mustache. I forget what silliness that they did to pretend that it wasn't the obvious pick.
For some when he morphed, it burned off the mustache for some reason. I think that's what the conceit was. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was like some cockamamie, whatever. I mean, it was really like this terrible thing because it was just so obviously him, and they kept it going for so long. It was like agonizing. And Red Hulk with the mustache honestly looks like garbage. But at the same time, General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross has a fucking mustache, goddammit. And I want him to have his mustache. I like that character. I've cared about that character for a long time. And, and even with this movie and him being there, William Hurt's portrayal of Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, like that's one of the few characters I've actually written myself in the Marvel Universe, gotten to write some dialogue of Thunderbolt Ross yelling at the Hulk a bunch of profanity. And that was like a shining achievement for me because I love that character, and I think he's similar to like a J. Jonah Jameson, as this really caricature of a thing, but really like to do it justice is the thing that needs to be done. And I was looking forward to some Hulk film where maybe he would get the opportunity to be unleashed as that character and maybe go on to be the Red Hulk. And yeah, we can burn off that mustache because it doesn't look so great. This performance for Harrison Ford wasn't anything like that. And I literally had to sort of like rewrite my mind of, well, I guess he's gone through this time where he's really changed, and that's when he decided he was going to be the president. And I guess after all these years of warmongering and chasing after the fucking Hulk who's still on the loose, he's decided, all right, fuck it. Okay.
Well, and that's where I think you could have had a setup that would have worked better. Like if you saw why he started running for president, and maybe it's like we've been too soft. We've had all these people. They're not standing their ground. We need to be more assertive as nations and as human beings. We've got this celestial. There's something out here. If we don't get someone that's going to fight for it, we're going to lose it. And then as a country, we are at a disadvantage. I would have believed all of that. If he'd come in as Thunderbolt Ross saying those things, I would have been like, yeah, it makes sense. Like he doesn't trust anyone else. He's got to come in, get his hands dirty, and make sure we get this. But I think this was, and this is why I kind of go into that. There was no whodunit type aspect. So even just looking at Sam Wilson and Ross alone, if you had an element where the moment he gets elected, Sam's like, I don't trust him. I don't trust him at all. He's got some underhanded play that he's wanting to do. We need to watch him. That would have been one element of suspicion. And then when you have Ross come in, and if he's aggressive, you're like, all right, there might be something there. But then you have Ross going, no, I'm learning from my ways. I've made mistakes. We have to work together. You're like, all right, I don't know. Can I trust you? Can I not trust you? Let's see. And that would have been one of many layers you could have had in this. Who tried to assassinate him? Did they really try to assassinate him? Is this a work? We just we'll dive more into that as we get to other characters. But I will say, like you, I call it the Tom Selleck factor. If you see him without his mustache, it just feels wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, come on, man. Give me the mustache. Yes, he does become Red Hulk, and I think we'll save that for a little bit later because I think it plays more a point. Look, you get 5 minutes of the Red Hulk. Okay, like I have thoughts, but we'll save that when we talk about the end of the film.
Wouldn't it be nice to have had the mustache just for the continuity for the audience? Like, I mean, what non-geek audience member even has any fucking clue that that's the same guy that's been going after the Hulk? And like, that is there to be made?
Maybe. Who knows? Real quick before we move on, I have to address we have my Steph, my nerdy home in the house. Hello, father of my child. If you guys missed the news, Steph and I actually have a baby together, and it happened in Vegas last year. We were trying not to talk about it, but then we felt like, for the sake of truth, speaking the truth, we should let people know. But even Max came in and said, "Steph, do you want media attention for the announcement of y'all's child?"
Oh,
And apparently, I'm ghosting her like Elon Musk, but I think my ex posts say otherwise. So what can you do? What can you do? Anyways, inside joke. Just if you follow us on Twitter, you know. I do want to move on real quick because I'm trying to touch on Cap's characters in this, which are few and far between. But when you look to the people that kind of are here to support Cap, oh yeah, I forgot. Aaron is that baby, by the way. So just let it be known. There's only 2 characters that Cap really brought into the table. I guess 3, but the third one just does nothing. But one is Joaquin Torres, who steps in as Falcon. I would say it's fine. I wanted to like him more than I did, but I do think he was also the most likable character. I don't know if that makes sense. Dylan, does that make sense to you?
I hated this guy, so no. I thought he was so annoying.
Yeah.
I hate him so much. None of his jokes are funny. The only thing about him is he makes constant jokes and he's from Miami. That's it. He's incredibly annoying. He decides to headbutt a rocket partway through the movie for some reason. The guy's retarded. Him and Anthony Mackie have no chemistry at all. I hated this guy. I hate him so much.
He was Dead Meat Thompson. This is who the guy was. Just a guy in the action movies like, yeah, I'm this close to retirement. It's just like he kept bringing up about I forget what he was talking about, like dying on the job, whatever. I'm like, he's gonna something bad is gonna happen to this guy. The buzzards are circling around this guy.
This isn't fair, guys. Josh was right. He is charming. He was charming. I wanted to like him too. I think the script was just very not kind to him. Like like you said, like his jokes didn't land. He was trying.
I don't think the actor was bad. I think the character was awful.
Yeah,
and he was just given. He was just given the Falcon mantle. He showed up. He's already the Falcon. I'm like, how was this guy chosen? Were there tryouts?
That's
obviously not, because no one else would headbutt a missile. So this guy was not. That's so stupid. He shoots down the others. He's like, this one I need to just go head on.
No, Sam Wilson was like, yo, did you see this crazy mother effer? He headbutted a missile. That's actually a missed story opportunity. Like, it's when people are like mad that everybody's calling him Captain America, just like sort of giving him this unearned justice. That's because you missed the opportunity to tell the story where that would make sense and we would be like happy about it, And like, it seems like, why couldn't the movie have opened with him testing out Falcons and going, "You got the job"? Like that could be a great way to start the movie. That's a cool that we missed.
Yeah, I don't even need him testing out Falcons. Like, I'm good enough to buy that he's working with Joaquin from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but they should have had him testing out the suit. Yeah, because that was even the plot in Falcon and Winter Soldier is like, oh, he got the wings, he's working on them, he's trying to repair them. He's already kind of mentioned before he wants to fly. So if you had just jumped in of like, hey, like we got this new set of wings, like we're gonna try to start this new program, whatever. Like we want you testing it. You could have just run with that, and I would have been like, cool, yeah, Joaquin makes sense. He helped you with the Flag Smashers. I'm sorry, I'm bringing it up.
But that works too. No, that's same thing. Anything it's can help them.
They desperately wanted him to be Sam's Sam, pretty much like what Sam was to Steve. They wanted him to be that for Sam, but they tried so hard. And I don't know if it was the Miami aspect or that they were trying to make him quote unquote hip and cool, but I was waiting for him to say like shit like no cap and you've got that Riz, because that's kind of the vein that they were writing him in, and it felt like some douche from MTV. And
he was Poochie the Rock. He was Poochie the Rockin' Dog in this film. They're really selling him hard on this.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing I wish they would have done at the end, this is just me. I really wish he had said at the very end of the film, spoiler alert, like that he couldn't do this anymore. He just quit. Like after what happened, like he's done. Like, he thought he could be a hero, but he can't do it. I thought that would have been a very powerful moment for the character. Like, oh shit, he's hanging it up. He realized this isn't a fucking game. But no, they didn't go that way.
Yeah.
But
I was gonna say, and Dylan's right. The fact that he just decided to headbutt a rocket was, and you could still have the same outcome, like if he were trying to save someone off of one of the ships as the rocket was coming down, and then the rocket ends up hitting, or like you could have done something like that, just a very minor adjustment that would have been like, hey, that's a hero. Instead, you have this idiot fly directly into it. He's just like, I'm gonna stop it, and just like full on. Let me tackle this sucker.
He took out others like completely fine without putting himself in harm's way. He just took out like 2 missiles prior, and then the last one, he's like, "No, this one I gotta get up close and personal with."
Maybe he watched too much WWE and he decided he was gonna Chris Benoit the sucker. Just flying headbutt off the top turnbuckle.
Can we address the greater concern, which is his atrocious costume?
Really bad.
It does look bad. Like they should have just kept him in a military uniform with the helmet and wings, and I would have actually preferred that, if I'm being honest.
It is ugly, man.
It looks bad. It does not look good.
I also think this is like a problem for the Falcon mantle, because I think setting Falcon up as something that like anyone can be and you're supposed to just graduate from is kind of rude to the character of Falcon. Like, it's not something great. It's not something that's just like, anyone, this random dude from Miami is now Falcon. And, it's not something that's like treasured at all. It's like, Sam's now Captain America because Falcon doesn't mean anything. It's kind of like, man, that kind of sucks. Like, Falcon could have been like a cool hero and could have been interesting. Instead, no, he's just lame and it doesn't mean anything, and anyone could be Falcon. It's like that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's
agreed.
Just a placeholder mantle. So if you're starting off as a hero, you're the Falcon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say, for like the sort of opposite example, when Dick Grayson graduated to left Batman and became Nightwing, and then Jason Todd got beaten by a crowbar, Tim Drake noticed that Batman was missing this Robin figure. Similarly, Batman discovered the orphan, similar situation when Dick Grayson died. He discovers this orphan who's robbing his car. There's a story reason to make this important and a necessity. And there's none of that at all in this film at all. And I mean, they weren't able to establish that sort of meaningful, Captain America needs his Falcon. That's not really the vibe there. Falcon was a unique character who happened to be Steve's great friend. And we loved him because he loved Steve, and he was unique and interesting in his own ways.
Yeah.
Now we just got an extra suit lying around. Someone's got to fill it.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said they should have been testing it out as something that they were going to roll out for the military in general. Like, hey, we're going to try just putting guys in these wings for some like more stealth type missions, operations. And had he just chosen like Sam needs help, he doesn't have anyone in his corner, I'm gonna help because that's what he needs, it would have worked better as well. But I'm just across the board, like they miss with this character. And I, going back to me saying I wanted to like him, I think that comes from the charisma of the actor, and I feel bad for the actor that he got caught with such an anemic and poor representation and role.
Yeah, I feel bad for this guy.
Yeah. We have Tim's talking here with, I heard Twink Falcon is Josh's ex. I don't know what you're talking about. Come on. It's not my type at all.
Wait, can I make a cool suggestion? I just got kind of a good idea.
Yeah, go for it.
What if the movie had been him as a friend of his in the military, an excitable, charming friend of his in the military, going, "You got to let me be your Falcon, dude." Like, and he's like, "No, come on, man. Like, yeah, I've done the jumps. I've worn the suit. I know how to do the thing. You know, I've been a part of the program too. I can be your Falcon. Captain America needs a Falcon. Captain America doesn't need a Falcon, man. You know, we were just friends. We're not freaking lovers. You know, like, and then finally going, you need help, man. You need, and him showing up to help his friend in the dark, like that shit. That's how you make people care
Yeah.
about.
I
See them go through the legwork to do the thing and be invested in the process, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you mentioned something, and I think it would have helped because we were talking about how there really wasn't a progression for Sam from Falcon and the Winter Soldier to here. Like he's still like, oh, I don't know, I should have taken the serum. Nobody accepts me. I think instead of that, if you wanted to have him having a mental challenge, you could have had him going, I don't know if I can do this because I'm seeing so much bad in the world, and it's making me lose the good that's within me. And if you could have gone from that standpoint, especially if you put him in a situation where he's questioning the president, he doesn't know what to believe, he's seen so much bad, like he's questioning everything, and he
Yes,
feels a
yes.
little bit outside of himself, that
Uh-huh.
could have been a good point. And then that's when Joaquin could have come in and been like, no, bro, like you're the guy. Like, don't forget that. Steve chose you. You know, even Bucky agreed that you're worthy of carrying this. You just have to believe it and represent it. That would have worked. That would have put those two there together. They've already got their military history. Great, cool. Remind us of that, and then run with it. And don't write him like he's going to be on the Jersey Shore, for the love of God.
This movie didn't want to stand for anything, though, Josh. Like that was like
Nope.
the biggest thing. And I mean, I kind of feel like it's necessary. All the great Captain America stories stand for something on some level. You know, from the very beginning, him punching a Nazi in the face, you know, on the cover of the comic book, that is making a rather definitive statement on an issue. Him, you know, leaving behind the Captain America thing to be nomad because I don't agree with what my government's doing. That's a really definitive moral statement. You know, the great Captain America stories say something like that. I said something earlier about like, you know, man, great time for Crossbones to appear and be a racist. You know, like there are things to be leaned into that are meaningful. You know, it's one thing when you're having sort of humanity become sort of like racist. It's another thing when you have these wonderful straw men that we've built called Crossbones and the Red Skull and these great people that we can, you know, beat the hell out of and tell cautionary tales about. Why not utilize them?
Yeah, I mean, Crossbones is dead, but you definitely have Red Skull and
But that
some
was a
form that's still out
that
there.
was a case of a character with
Crossbones be a costume. Sorry, Drew.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just gonna say that was a great case of a character where we see him in one film, we grow to almost at the beginning of the film, we like the character, then we see the twist with the character at the end of the film, then we see the payoff in the next film with where he's become Crossbones. Like, oh shit, he's Crossbones now.
Yep.
It's like, but here it's just, hey, I'm Falcon, enjoy.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Yep.
I guess.
I do want to move on to the other supporting character for Cap, and Drew, I'm going to start with you on this one, but it is Isaiah Bradley. And I know you said that you really liked what they did with him here. You wish they would have done more. So I want to hear kind of what you liked that you saw with the character, and then we'll go from there.
You know, I really feel like he had a lot of the more human elements in this film. He's had some of the stuff that I wish that Sam had. We got to see more of him being a character in this than Sam, and I love the stuff in the gym. Stuff in the gym was terrific. And
real quick, did that look like it was shot like a commercial though? Like really weird?
Yes,
when
it
pulled up
did.
the gym, I was like, this is so weird. That was,
Yes, just one of the mini shots that was just weird. And
Yes.
but yeah, I liked his character in this. I really wish we had gotten more. I know it's probably just me. I wish we gotten to see him and Sam in costume together. You know, probably fighting soldiers or fighting the Red Hulk at the end of the film. But I'm glad we got to see what we did with him in this, and he did a good job. And
Yeah.
he's a great actor too. I can't. I love
fantastic actor. I love that. I even love what Sam was doing. Of like, man, you got to get out of this gym. Like, I get, why you're kind of tucking yourself away here, but you've got to get out. You've got to come back into society. And we already knew what was going to happen because they kind of gave it away in the previews. But
it was
seeing
great
him get
having
out-
it was great having him bust Sam's chops. I loved it. It was
Oh,
just great
yeah.
stuff.
It is the perfect foil again of if you had done this properly of what you're trying to do with the who done it, you have him here. And I think the problem that we had with him, shooting and then them, putting him in jail was at no point did anyone ever consider like, hey, there's brainwashing going on. And
Well,
it's like
Sabra did. She knew. She picked it up, and
yeah, but like, I mean, when you've got Ross. I keep wanting to say General Ross, but you've got Ross there going like, "Oh, he tried to murder me," and at no point, because even Sam was like, "Oh no, he wasn't himself. He didn't know what was going on," and people were like, "Yeah, no, I mean, it was him." And it's like, yo, we live in a world where we just got like essentially two films that were Captain America films dealing with this same thing. And you could have easily been like, are the Russians involved? Are they, is this who's mind controlling him? If someone's mind controlling him, is this really him? If you created like, is it this or is it that type of narrative, it would have made it more interesting. And it would have just been another layer of who's behind this and
is it an offshoot of the Winter Soldier program? Yeah,
correct.
We could have put it on that the other character, like, because it was such a diametrically opposed sort of statement to they just had a conversation about how much trust that he had, was putting trust in it, and then immediately in the next thing, you say your friend's Sting, and I say, he should have been at war with the person, and her going, we can't take that risk, we're going to evaluate him, we'll see what's going on, and then that would have made a lot more sense. Can I chime in real quick about
yeah
Bradley? Well, I'm with Drew, like, totally love him. And yeah, he's got charisma, much more so than the lead. Unfortunately, there's a lot of sort of angles in this film that are more interesting than the angle that you're given. And actually, going back to the TV show, I would say that the thing that like the missed opportunity that I felt was there, for pulling from the comics and the great mythology, was to have based it more around the truth. And Truth miniseries, which tells the story of Isaiah Bradley, to have had flashbacks, to have really told that story. That's a meaningful story and a great segue into a Black Captain America. And then I want to jump on too. Somebody said, oh, it would have been great to see him in costume at the end, showing up to help. Yeah. Here's Falcon, and here's freaking the original Black Captain America. That's fucking awesome. That would have been really cool. Just nobody's thinking about these things the right way. So the moment you do, it's like the ideas kind of present themselves very easily. You got Aaron Sparrow, the my wonderful friend. He and I talk all the time about how so many of these movies, man, if you just would have handed me that script before it went out the door, as somebody who cares about this property, I could have adjusted everything going on here, not even all that much, and people would have been thrilled with the result.
Oh yeah,
but major conceptual balls get dropped, and it's no wonder the audience is very upset. You're not thinking about things long term.
Yeah. I was just thinking. I just thought of. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. This cool scene. If like Red Hulk is getting ready to lay down like the last blow on Sam, and Isaiah comes in and stops the fist of the Red Hulk, and just is pushing it back. You just see him. He's struggling, but he's pushing it back. He's saving Sam. It's just, man.
Yeah. I mean, it would have made sense, and we'll talk about the fight at the end, but it would have made more sense. It would have kind of given more credence to that fight. But and Aaron brings up a good point here, because I was talking about the fact that only one person is jumping to like, is this brainwash? But also we have scrolls, like, even though it's by far the worst thing Marvel has done, Secret Invasion, the TV show, like the whole point, the whole plot of that show is that they took over government roles. They were in government roles all across the world. And it's like, the fact that no one said, could this be scrolls? Nobody said, do you think Baron Zemo, or do you think Zemo's behind this? Even though there could just be red herring lines of like, wink, wink, we guys, the fact that wasn't there and the fact that no one even went with like, is this brainwash or is he working an angle? And one of the things, and this is where just the writing in general, the generic writing in this film let it down in a lot of ways. When they're in the gym, like, we know that Sam's been working with the government. We that's the first thing we learned in episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So if the president calls you, you're gonna answer. And the fact that when he gets that phone call and he goes, I need to take this, and he goes, yes, I'll speak to the president, and you have Isaiah be like, oh, and then walk off. It's like, I get it, you're wrong, but you made yourself look like a teenager that's petty. And I'm not saying that you can't have bad feelings about what happened to you, but I think what would have been more believable would have been him kind of like walking into the office and then Sam finishing the call and going in. And instead of him being like, I know how you feel about the government, instead of having that, just have Isaiah be like, listen, I know I have my issues from my past, but can you trust him? Just strictly meaning Ross. Can you trust him? It would have been another layer of, is Ross actually a good guy or not? And then you would have had the follow-up of him trying to shoot Ross. You're like, wait a second, is this him or is he brainwashed? And it's just like the start of this domino effect that could have happened.
Is Ross a good guy or not? Was that even a question that the movie asked at any point?
So they tried to bring it up in one scene where, well, actually 2 scenes. So they tried to bring it up when the Japanese were like, hey, you're like double playing this to make yourself look good. And you had the conversation between
the pill reveal.
Yeah, and you had the conversation with Ross and Sam where, like, I know we have our history and we don't get along, trying to mull things over because they quote unquote had to work together. But it was just throwaway lines. So that's what so much of this film was. Like, we're just going to tell you this to try to add weight when we're not going to give you any actual weight to it. So sorry, I'm ranting, but I do want to. Anyone else have anything you want to add about Isaiah? Because I'm 100% on board with it. He should have been in the final act.
Yeah,
I want to improve the ending by spoiling it, but I'll save that to whenever that's appropriate.
Oh yeah, we'll get to the ending. We're gonna run through the characters and then get to the final fight.
It's been inspired by this moment. Hopefully, I remember it when we get there.
I'll bring it up. Don't worry, or put it in the private chat if you need to.
I'll write it down somewhere.
Yeah. So kind of moving into a new-ish character that comes in, and again, this is another layer that they really should have played with in suspense. But you had Ruth Batsaref coming in. The character of Sabra, they originally announced that Sabra was going to be in this, but she never actually became Sabra for whatever reason. They also have toys and stuff that have her in an actual like hero costume, but we never saw it. Bro, okay.
Oh my
Dylan, God. Drew, Jesse. I know the first thing we're going to talk about is how she's like 4 feet tall. So whoever wants to jump in first, just go
Never
for it.
Has anyone needed superpowers more?
Yes.
Evidently not.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
I mean, evidently
Super
not.
badass, you know.
What are we thinking here? This is gonna sound funny. Okay, I'm sorry. It was a little bit like that scene in Austin Powers. Is it where he can't stop looking at the mole? You know, I found myself watching the movie and my eyes were just sort of glancing over down at like, boy, she's really small. Boy,
Yeah.
How small is she? Is she like a midget of some kind?
Yeah.
You know, I was distracted from whatever they call a plot for a while she was on screen because I was just fascinated by how teeny tiny she really was. And it really just seemed like, I don't know, it seemed like the most sort of liberal sort of women's rights person putting a thumb in everybody's eye who says that women can't do anything a man can do. And I'm looking at this girl as like a skinny guy. Like, I'm in the gym right now, I'm trying to put on weight, and I weigh like 150 pounds. That's not like a lot. Like, and I'm starting to move a lot of weight, and it's dangerous because my body is so light. I'm light compared to the weight that I'm trying to move, and I'm trying to move 300. There are like 300-pound guys in the world. This woman, she must weigh like 90 pounds. I've never quite seen somebody put forth as a person of stature who could beat up men who is her size. I think I'm not sure, but she's probably pushing 4.5 feet to 5 feet, somewhere in that range. And she looks even like, I don't not athletic. She does not look like an athletic person who could do things with her body without mutant powers of some kind. Okay, there, I said it.
No, you're right, Jesse. And I was saying behind the scenes that her stature, how she walks and presents herself, she reminds me of the dwarf character from Twin Peaks in the Red Room.
Yes,
It sounds mean, but that's what she looks like. That's how she walks.
I'm not trying to be mean about it, but literally, she like embodies the opposite of the thing. And the thing that we're asking, a film to embody here is a certain amount of machismo, which carries with it a certain amount of stature. And she was rigid like a vulture, like like craned neck kind of thing. But also, as you see in this picture, looking up at because she was coming from a rather low vantage point. They had the president sitting so that she could be big a couple times. And I was like, oh man, this isn't really changing much. The president's sitting and she's about an inch taller than him, maybe. This isn't really good for the argument I was making in my mind about how we're not going to make her beat people up, are we? Because that's what they go on to do. And I mean, I'm sorry, it really seems like somebody was like, I was waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come out and be like, "Pumps, yo, we're just messing with it." Nah, she's like, she's got powers. She's got powers. She's got powers.
Go ahead, Dylan.
I was gonna say, she is distractingly small. It's like he was saying, every scene I'm just staring at her like, oh my god. I was saying in the pre-show that she's like a cartoon character. It made me think of Space Jam when you see like Michael Jordan next to Bugs Bunny. It's like that. It's like
it was different
here. It's really odd. And then you have her first action scene where she just beats up a hallway full of dudes, and of course you have other characters tell you how cool she is. Like, whoa, in awe of her. She's so tiny.
A rockin' dude.
And that's who Ross would choose to head up his security. Him, and also he's got another woman at the head of his security, which just feels like the easiest president to assassinate ever. But
apparently some of her earlier ties, originally she was connected more to the Israeli intelligence and stuff. So the president's main aide is not of America. Is just a very strange choice. Even though I would say maybe truth to that. But
agreed. I will say, based on the trailers, the clips that I saw from her, I was like, oh, it looks like we're gonna get some good hand-to-hand action scenes from her, because they picked really good shots of her for the trailers, and then you watch the film and she's so small, and yet I literally stopped mid-film and I started Googling. This is not a joke. I Googled, what is the disease where you have uneven shoulders and no neck? And it's Klippel-Feil syndrome. And I was like, and then I start Googling her name to see if she has it, because there's scenes where she's kind of like this.
Looking like Igor. From Young
I'm
Frankenstein.
like, dude, does she have it? But she also has the abnormally long, her arms went down to her knees. Her hands were almost at the same length of her knees. So it's like, does she have that? Why did we? And you really notice it when they go to that military site that they've got Sidewinder at, and then she's walking with Sam by the Humvees, and you're like, bro, I'm all for suspending belief and having badass females, but this is pushing it. And
Josh, you nailed it. It's suspension of disbelief. I can believe Harrison Ford turning into a Red Hulk before I can believe her taking down a 300-pound man.
Wait, but Sabra, I believe, has powers in the comic books.
Yes.
She's a mutant. Yeah.
And it's that fucking easy to, well, there you go. She's a mutant. Now here we go. How fucking easy is that to do? And now it makes sense. How do you not make sense of something so jarring? Because if you had made sense of it eventually, then it becomes kind of like she's a mutant. Oh, okay. But fuck.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Josh, you found her actual height. She's like what, 4'9" in real life?
I think so. Michael's here saying they say that she's 5'2", but I can't.
No way. No, she's
because Anthony Mackie's like 5'10". I don't even think he's 6 foot.
No.
And she came to like his belly button, so it was weird. But I will say,
Stiletto's 4'11".
this is the one character. This is the one character that you had a moment of them being like, "Can we trust her?" And you have Sam being like, "Hey, look into her." That's it. That's all you get. But going to Jesse's point, they mentioned that she has an intelligence background, or she's from Israel. They mentioned that she was trained in the Red Room. So you've got this Israeli Black Widow thing going on. And then we really don't do anything with it other than like, oh, she's a badass. But you really could have thrown in like, hey, is this another country trying to sabotage the US now? Like, you had so much potential for so many layers of suspense, and going through this film being like, I don't know who the fuck is behind this, but I'm ready to find out. And you could have gone on that journey, and we've just given a few of these so far of being like, hey, but this could have been like, Ross, did you look into her? Do you trust her? And you could have had him being like, you could have eventually even revealed like, hey, I know we have our disagreements. I've had a disagreement with a lot of you guys. Natasha and I had a conversation because this would have made sense for when Black Widow happened. And some of these Black Widows need work. And we did a thorough background check. She's capable. Let her do it. Cool. All right. I guess. Why not? But yeah, just again, missed opportunity here. And I was pretty peeved by it. Real quick before we move on to other characters, I do have to highlight 2 comments because they're super chats. Corey, I know you're going to bed if you're still here. One, he gifted a membership to Pop by Culture. So whoever got that, congratulations. Thank you. We've got a ton of stuff coming. We'll talk about that at the very, very end before we call it a good night. But for the gifted membership, let's do... I feel like I always do the same clips. I gotta do something else. Let's go with this.
Bring me Thanos!
Oh,
How the mighty have fallen.
Oh, I know.
Something in like a rational universe, this woman would not have showed up for the audition for this part.
Oh yeah,
let alone have been cast in it.
Yeah,
I don't understand what made her. That sounds like me.
Unless they were actually going to give her powers, which nothing here, established that. One more thing real quick. We also had Cajun come in with $5 child support for Steph since Joshy won't pay. Looks like I'm giving that child support to Steph. And you know what, Corey, for that clip, you get this.
I'll show you the tool that's most important to our survival. But fair warning, it's my penis.
Hey. So for the sake of time, we're going to go through some of these because we're getting to lesser characters. We're going to move through some of these a little faster. But I do want to bring up, and Dylan mentioned it, Secret Service agent Layla Taylor. This character did absolutely nothing. I thought the actress was god awful. She was like Sleepy Joe. She was asleep at the wheel. Like everything was just half speed with her. But they tried to make it out like you had Sam being like, "Oh no, I've got someone on the inside."
Wonder who it could be.
Yeah, and then they really did nothing with it. But Layla Taylor is supposed to be a love interest for Sam. They never even played into that. There was a moment where I was like, bro, is this his sister? Because I couldn't remember what she looked like. It's been too long since I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I did not like this character. Again, I thought it was wasted. And I thought this could have been a fun thing of like kind of maybe doing a flipperoo of like, hey, can we trust Sam? Because Sam's planting people in the cabinet. Like could have been another layer of mystery. But any thoughts on Secret Service agent Layla Taylor?
It felt like it should have been a celebrity cameo. I felt like I was watching someone who was like a celebrity in a cameo, a glorified cameo, but I had no clue who they were. I'm like, should I know who this person is? I don't understand.
Are you saying this should have been Lizzo?
or Aisha Taylor. I don't know, or someone. I don't know. Aisha Tyler, the comedian. I think it's her name. But whatever.
Dylan, what were your? I know you said this was like the easiest president to kill because
Yeah, but like her character was just a whole lot of nothing. But it was so weird how open, because Sam tried to make it seem like it was like a secret that he had someone on the inside, and then he's just openly talking to her like in front of Ross and everyone, and they're
Yeah.
just talking about everything. It's like, well, you guys aren't like meeting somewhere secret or like talking over like a secured line, or you're just talking straight in front of everyone that you don't want to know. What was even
Yeah.
the point of being like, I have a secret person on the inside? Like, if I'm Ross, I'm not letting her know jack shit because she's obviously and with Cap, so it makes
Compromised.
no sense. Yeah, it was so
And-
stupid.
now that you're mentioning it, we've got that scene where short girl, home chick, the Sabra that we were just talking about, like Sam tells her to leave at one point, and Ross is like, no, she stays. And I thought about that, and I just realized, like, even the plot to Black Widow was all these people were brainwashed.
Yeah,
Like, it just, but no discussion about that at all. I don't know. This is making me mad now. Boosh said Lizzo. He said a celebrity cameo. My bad. I apologize. Yeah, this just, it felt like they wanted her to be more, and then all that maybe got cut. But then the
they gave her
actress
nothing to do.
yeah, but I thought the actress was terrible. Like, I didn't believe her as an agent for 1 second. Like, the way she carried the gun, the way she moved. I feel like at one point she was like running, but it was like you haven't run in like 20 years. It's very clear.
Well,
it
it's
just
not as
looked-
bad as Queen Latifah attempting in the Equalizer show, but it's
Oh gosh, no! They have that stunt double that like kicks ass in that show, though.
Can I
We're
see-
talking about running though. Isaiah and Anthony Mackie have two of the worst run. Which one's an old man, so he gets
yes,
to.
yeah.
But put a stunt man and have him in a silhouette. Like when he's like he's supposed to have the super soldier serum and he's like doing an old man run. It looks hilarious. And Anthony Mackie has a horrible run. He is not like some actors have good runs. He does not have a good cinematic run. It's awful. That scene was hilarious. Their runs both terrible.
And this lady, somebody said that she might be like his romantic love interest, whatever.
So in the comics,
was-
she is.
Okay, well, just in general, what was Sam doing any of this for? Like, ultimately, it's like put on, he's doing it for Isaiah, which Isaiah isn't really set up deeply enough for, I think, a layman audience to even have much of an idea about him. You know, I think he was my favorite part of the TV show, so, I was happy to see him again and stuff. I mean, but how much is really revealed deeply there for an audience to grab a hold of? And then, all right, Isaiah, I'm going to get you out of prison. But he doesn't have a girl to fight for. He doesn't have a family that we see. He like his friend shows up at the end in a little 5-minute cameo. Like it's really, that was interesting to me. That it's like, what is he about?
Well, and that's my point with this. Like they just have that line because they're doing nothing but telling you everything in the story. They have that line where he goes, "I've got someone on the inside," and it's her. But they never explain their relationship. Like, and I don't mean relationship as in romantic, just in general. Like, I don't know who these two people are to one another. I don't know why he trusts her, that he's going to go to her for intel. I don't know why she trusts him, that she's going to risk her job as like the head of Secret Service.
They're both black. That's it. That's literally the only
Pretty
connection. It's just like that's it.
This is
There's
my
nothing
home
else.
girl.
Yeah,
My
they
home
don't
girl's here.
explain their dynamic at all.
Go together because we're all white.
I mean, I guess. I do want to go on to the character that people were like, and I saw this over the weekend too, of like, oh my god, I'm so glad this character's back, bro. You can't say that this character's back based on what we get in this film, but it's Betty Ross. Like, we've known
movie.
What?
She was in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're claiming it was Liv Tyler. I'm still like, are we sure that's Liv Tyler and we didn't just like CGI her face onto somebody? Because you have the
crazy for her to come there for such a small amount of time. We just need you for this one shot.
Well, and this is where you could have had show versus tell. You could have had flashbacks of a younger Ross actually walking through these cherry blossoms, when she's younger, and her talking about how much these walks mean to her or whatever. And then you could have flashbacks to Incredible Hulk and why they stopped talking. And you could have show one or two instances of him trying to call her and her sending him just straight to voicemail. And yes, you had the assassination attempt, and she should have tried to call him and not gotten a hold of him. Because if you had done those little steps, that little phone call you get at the end where he's like, "Well, I'm gonna try one more time," and she answers, she's like, "I guess I should have called you when they tried to kill you." Yeah, no shit, bitch. You're mad, but it's your dad. They just tried to kill him. And then that last scene was just it was so forced, the fact that she's on the raft of all things to go have her nice, we're gonna have a heartfelt moment with my dad. It should have happened probably before he turned into Red Hulk. Just saying. I don't know. But this did nothing. I wish they would have just kept her gone, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it confuses the audience. Oh my God, what a big actress has shown up. Who's she? Where's she from? This is the Captain America franchise, not the Hulk franchise.
Yeah, they had no confidence in anyone knowing who she was, because the very beginning of the movie, he goes, "Have you gotten in touch with Betty, my daughter?" Because
Yeah.
it's you're telling your most closest security advisor that's your she should know that's your daughter. You should just say Betty. But he says Betty, my daughter, to let the audience know that's his daughter, in case you haven't seen Incredible Hulk, because it's been a while. It's they had no confidence in the audience even knowing who she was.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're a good writer, you write that backwards. You go, has anybody gotten a hold of my daughter? Yes, I spoke to Betty earlier today. It's she's proving that she knows Betty. Yes, I did. Aha. So, this person's proving competency, gives character, blah, 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 blah. And now the audience isn't sitting there going, oh, I see, plot exposition.
Yeah. The audience who doesn't know isn't going, who's his daughter? But yeah, it could have easily been fixed a number of ways. Because the whole purpose she's even here, let's be honest, is to help prove that Ross isn't the same hardened guy that we know him to be. But that also would have been a red herring, and we know wouldn't have been true based on what he did with the leader. But speaking of which, let's actually get into the villains, because at the end of the day, and you need villains. I'm not saying you shouldn't have villains, but the way these villains were handled, it was so unnecessary, and it created such a lack of urgency from their characters. Because again, you had no suspense with this whodunit and who's behind this and who's pulling the strings. You had no setup for Sidewinder. We jump into the beginning, and we're in the middle of this deal taking place. Giancarlo Esposito could have been utilized. So one, I know people are sick of seeing him because he's in everything, but he's a good actor. He's a damn good actor. And you could have set this up, and you still could have kept your Serpent Society, and you could have kept Seth Rollins and Home Chick, and you could have had an opening action sequence of them going to Celestial Island to steal this adamantium that was taken from this thing. You could have shown them assassinating all these people to get this, to then come make a deal, and had Sam and them show up to mess up the deal. It would have made it a little more credible and given insight into who this character is and why they're dangerous, because we get to see them being dangerous instead of just being oh, it's Sidewinder, it's the Serpent Society. Oh no, they're terrorists. Oh, they're dangerous. We're gonna just beat the shit out of them. So any thoughts on Sidewinder from you guys? Because
I have a lot of thoughts on Sidewinder, but whoever
go for it. Do it. It's your show.
Okay, seriously. Giancarlo Esposito, he's been used in so many capacities in such major ways. To not put some sort of costume on him that could redefine him specifically to this film is a missed opportunity in so many different ways. When they say the name out loud, Sidewinder, what does it mean? What did he mean What like what impact does he have on the fucking story? It's such a fly by night sort of thing. However, boy, you could have changed all that by simply making him Sidewinder from the comic books and having him essentially be this, this merc operative who alluded to a larger group of people that, were in existence. That's cool. That seeds something. It's meaningful in some capacity. If you're literally just going to have a big actor come in to do a little B roll that you're adding into the movie, well, do it that way. Give him a fucking costume and make it meaningful. Because this just felt so like, okay, and
Yeah, I mean, 100% the reason he doesn't have a costume is because how late in the game they came in to write these scenes and film them. Like, this was when we heard just a few months ago, oh, they're reshooting yet again. It was these scenes. His character was not in this film. So he got added in. Seth Rollins and them got kicked out. As I mentioned earlier, the director felt it was too comic booky for a grounded film. And then you got this.
Hold on a second, Josh. Let me just tell you a second, because me and my fucking cadre, I mean, just me and Aaron alone, we could figure out how to turn around some credible Sidewinder helmet or some credible Sidewinder belt buckle or some piece of shit that would trademark him as Sidewinder. And now I'm working with freaking Digger Mesh. Digger's used to run Art Asylum. I could turn something around even faster that would be even better and of more quality. They did nothing. There was no effort put in to do anything with this. They think this is okay. They think this is enough. And it's not enough. It's not playing up all the aspects of the superhero worlds that we've wanted to see brought to life since we were children. Every time I see a movie and it's done like this and we're not given some costume bad guys for our heroes to beat up on, I'm just like, what a waste of all your money and all of our time.
Yep. So I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying that's where we were, and a lot of it comes down to finance.
Yes, you're excusing them.
It's just when you take that away from the Marvel movies, it's become generic action movie.
Correct. But even if you look at the scenes that they filmed this, a lot of them are one-on-one scenes, or if you have other characters, you've got 3 or 4. And even when he gets arrested and he's at that military site, being detained, the only other character you actually see while he is on screen is he is speaking, and you have someone walk by that's dressed as a soldier in the background. That's it. But almost all of his scenes are just him and Sam, and that's it. Like that's like they couldn't even afford extras for this, aside from that opening scene with the church, the Padre, which he should.
I think it was with him. There's a weird scene where he's like looking down an alleyway, and it gave me like this weirdest soundstage studio vibe, because literally like half the frame was just black. There was nothing on the frame. It was just like a little sliver, like a camera phone. And I was chewing on a cookie when Drew said what he said, but it makes it into a generic action film. Nailed it. Yeah. That's exactly it. It transforms something that is a elevated fantasy, which is why we enjoy it and why we've been clamoring for it. And then it levels it down when there's no need to. They have the ability to utilize these visuals, and when they don't, it's what a missed opportunity. It then becomes generic action film, Bond film. At the end of the movie, I finally got excited just because like it looked kind of interesting. There's this big red guy on the stage or whatever. It was a little weird them fighting in the middle of all these fucking flowers, but it looked nice. And earlier in the movie, though, you're just sort of like generic action film, as Drew said.
Dylan, any thoughts from you on Sidewinder?
I think it was crazy that they tried to make him the physical test for Sam to be the one that really submits that Sam's got this Cap thing under control. Because Cap it's sort of like the highway scene in Winter Soldier where Bucky catches him off guard. They try to do that with him, except it's old ass Giancarlo Esposito. So it's really like, why are you choosing this guy? Why? Like Sam should be able to beat the shit out of him, no problem. But instead they're like, oh man, he catches him off guard. He doesn't have a suit, none of his gadgets. This is gonna be a real test. And we don't know in this movie anything about Sidewinder or why he should be scary at all. He's just got a gun and that's it. And that was just so odd to me, why that's the test for Sam, to show that he's really got it. Especially because later in the movie, there's a scene at like his prison black site, whatever, where it's their silhouettes and Giancarlo's got the old man gut. and it's like and he's
Yeah.
just sitting across the sand like,
Wait,
this is the guy he beat the shit out of. I was like, this is tough.
But
This is a tough
You're
look.
spot on
Really?
because I feel like for the sake of the film, you should have had Sidewinder as more of like the tactical leader, the mindset. Let his goon be the. I mean, which I guess they kind of did. They had that one guy that was supposed to be like the badass, but
Well, wait a second,
like-
Dylan. Didn't you see Breaking Bad?
I've never watched Breaking Bad, but
You
yeah,
never
no,
watched- see, that's why you didn't know why Sidewinder was a scary bad guy, because we didn't see the 5 seasons of Breaking Bad that demonstrate what a scary guy he is. See, they were
Right.
relying upon your having seen Breaking Bad to then see Giancarlo Esposito and go, "Oh, I know what this means." But because you hadn't seen Breaking Bad, you ruined it.
yeah. But this is another area where I wish they would, because they kind of even tried to. They had again one line where he was like, "Oh, I want to find the son of a bitch that played me." Like, if you had Sidewinder get away, like not get detained and caught, and then he's another like loose thread element that's out there floating in this like, who's behind these kills? We have these terrorists. Is it them? I don't think so. It's not their MO, but now we still have to deal with them. We're trying to figure out who's behind all of this. We've got people getting brainwashed. We've got potential Black Widow that's causing this. Like, if you had gone through all of those elements and had all of them kind of running at the same time and you still didn't know who was behind this, I think the biggest mistake ever was them announcing Tim Blake Nelson was in this, because we knew all along the leader was the puppeteer behind this. And then they tried to mask it, like you didn't see his face until like 3/4 of the way through the film. But
I don't get anything about it really, about this choice, about everything. It's just
I
it almost
mean,
like the vestigial tale of other movies and franchises.
yeah, I didn't. So I will say, I actually liked the idea of the plot that you had the leader and Ross was like utilizing him and abusing what he could do for his own benefit and his own good. I don't mind that, because you could even say, "Oh, that's bad," but Ross could say, "Look, I was going for the greater good, and we have a guy that's a criminal, that's a villain, and we're gonna make use of him." I would have been fine with that, but they really didn't lean super heavily into it. I felt like the Ross being like, "Is he there? Someone check on him," was a little, over dramatic. And then they just like, they didn't make him as smart as he should have been. This should have been like
Correct.
Zemo.
Yeah.
It
This
should
is
have been
Zemo on crack. This is Zemo on
Yes.
crack. But no, this is a
Yeah.
dumb version of Zemo.
Well,
Agreed.
you're only as smart. Your characters are only as smart as your writers, and as we've established, they're really particularly not smart.
Yeah, but then at the end he just gives himself up, which makes absolutely no sense either. He's like, "I'm here to turn myself in, but before I do, I'm gonna have a conversation with you, Sam." Like, why? You've got no history with him.
What
Like-
you said earlier about the Red Hulk, like it being, if it was more focused on his movie and more focused on Ross, like it would have been more interesting. And man, what an interesting pivot that might have been if, when they were reshooting the movie, they just went, fuck it, it's a Red Hulk movie. And like, if
Yep.
this came out as a Red Hulk movie in an alternate dimension, would that have done better? I think it might have.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much potential here that just like, for me, if anything got wasted, it's the leader. Like, I don't know.
And visually, like, so I'm Jesse and then Dylan, all of us are here. We know we all have our ideas of what the leader looks like. I've seen him in different iterations through time in the comics, and here they didn't even fucking try. He looks terrible. This is not what I would want the leader to look like.
Pretty, it's not. It's like there's nothing cool about it, really.
No.
Well, this is also something that became a last minute change. So if he felt like all of his scenes that he filmed were like they looked cheap and rushed and kind of hokey and very like television, it's because they were. They basically filmed that like you would a network television show, because they filmed all of his stuff with him looking like this.
Oh, well, that's better.
This is official Marvel product. This is what was pulled. So I always talk about how I've got someone that kind of works in this field. So the person that I know, they do all the decorations and planning and marketing for premieres and for Disney World and Disneyland. So they have to get this stuff even before the film's been filmed, but then they get updates as they're filming, so they have stuff to reference. And it's the same stuff that they send to the companies like Pop and to whoever they use to manufacture their t-shirts. But this is official product from the show that's out that you can go buy. And clearly he doesn't look like this. So this was one of those last minute changes, but it was too late. We couldn't change it for stuff like this.
Can I say the biggest thing too about it, which really cannot be overlooked, because it might have worked had they not fucked up this one thing, which is his eyes. Playing the eyes the way they did made him seem unfocused. When you look at, I just like Googled a whole bunch of pictures of the leader, and the one character trait that the leader always has is he's always looking you very dead in the face. His eyes are focused on whatever it is either maniacal eyes or eyebrows raised. He's a thinking man, and he's a focused thinking person. And they chose to make him look like he is suffering from some sort of radiation poisoning. Instead of making him look like his brain is hulking out of his head, which is literally the idea behind the character. His brain is hulking out of his head. So this depiction is just really off mark. And I think they wanted to go for something more grotesque. And there are a lot of great interpretations in the comics that are grotesque enough. From his just like kind of split brain, old school bit where he just was like a giant brain, like two big hemispheres, which was more interesting than just the larger thing, the version that they have on that t-shirt there. And then in more recent years, and also they had like a more brainy kind of veiny version where you were seeing all the pieces of the brain.
Yeah.
And then in the recent version, there's like a monstrous version from Immortal Hulk that's got some merit to it, but still is in keeping with the idea of this guy's brain is hulking out of his skull. And it really just it does not come across. Just nothing lands. Like nothing is as pure as it needs to be to have any meaning. And this is the intelligent Hulk villain, and he doesn't seem so intelligent. He just seems vindictive and then stupid, and he hands himself over. And he's wearing a freaking green jumpsuit. Another area where we've missed the opportunity to put somebody in some sort of thing. I mean, like this costume that the leader has from the comics, it's an orange jumpsuit with black thing. Like, dude, you put him in a prison outfit in your prison that looks like that orange jumpsuit. This is his prison outfit. Come on, that's like great. There you go, perfect. It tells itself. And instead we've got green jumpsuit Broccoli Man, with the weird lazy eye, and the eyes, like they really prevent him, I think, from standing meaningfully on any level. Even maybe like his performance might have overrode the stupid broccoli head, but man, we can't give him some sort of imposing dome of some kind. It's really like this is, it's disappointing.
Agreed. Yeah, just disappointing across the board. And I think it's one of those characters you could have done a lot with, and probably could have had survived for another film. But just, I mean, I guess he survived, but I have no expectation of seeing him again. I do want to move to the ending of the film. And I put this with the marketing disaster because we had a marketing disaster on two fronts. And one is from day one, like the first trailer, they teased Red Hulk. Like you got that in the teaser trailer. So the fact that you go into this film, you're expecting to see this character play throughout the film. And the fact that this is supposed to be the big twist of the film, like, and that we gave it away, was god awful. Like someone in their right mind should have been like, hey, this is one of those moments where we need to go in saying like, look, I know you guys want Red Hulk. It's not happening in this film. We do have plans, but it's not now. If you had gone and pushed that for months, and then people were like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. And then you get to the very end of the film and it happens. You're like, holy shit. I think people would have responded better. Also, and we kind of touched on this earlier, but the fact that you've got Sam Wilson, who is just a normal human being, And I get that he's got his vibranium and Ant-Man and everything else going on with his suit. But the fact that he can stand there and go toe to toe and take punches, and there's one point where like Red Hulk's trying to crush him and he's like pushing back with his arms. I'm like, bro, your arms would be shattered right now.
There's a
Like,
point where he takes a big pull and swings at him, and Sam stops it with
Yes.
his arms. He's got his thruster, but that doesn't stop his arms from shattering.
that's
His
what
arms
it
would be
was.
completely shattered. That
Yes.
part was seeing that like which really makes the entire movie makes one of their points fall flat. Where it's Falcon's like, I don't know if I should, or Cap, should I take the super soldier serum or not? It's like, you've never failed once without it. Why would you need it? Like, there's never one point in the movie where it's like, man, he really could have used the super soldier serum there. It's no, he beats up the big guy in the beginning. He beats up Sidewinder. He takes care of tons of dudes. He 1v1s Red Hulk and is fine. At what point would the super soldier serum really have helped him or been advantageous for him?
He don't need
there's no
it.
point. He never would have needed it. It doesn't.
No.
So that why is that even a point in the movie then? If there's not a single point where you can point to and be like, hey, you actually really could have used it there.
That was
No, he
no
couldn't have.
meaningful storyline. They did like people have mentioned that. It's interesting when I see like write-ups of the movie, I'm like, that was like a sentence in the movie. That wasn't any of the plot of the fucking movie. This is something somebody said at some point. I didn't experience that. Like you didn't experience him agonizing over whether or not to take that serum. There's like a couple lines of dialogue where that's like mentioned. It's like so vague.
Yeah.
Drew, any thoughts from you on this?
On the serum, or just the ending of the film, or
Red Hulk, the ending of the film, the fight,
I brought it up earlier at the very beginning, before Jesse joined us. I mean, the reveal of the Red Hulk, it came across as just the reveal of Doomsday from BVS. They got desperate. They had to drop it early. They saw the numbers weren't looking too good, and that's what we got here. And it was a very lackluster fight. The Red Hulk in this just seemed. It reminded me of the Saturday Night Live skit when I think it was I forget what the heavyweight champion, what his name was. He had the one grill thing where like had the deep fryer thing, but it got all the grease out of it. Forget what his name was.
George Foreman.
George Foreman. George Foreman turned into the Hulk, and he was just old and tired. He's like Hulk tired. It just looked like This reminded me here, just old tired Hulk.
I was gonna say, I'll be honest, I didn't mind Hulk himself. I didn't mind Red Hulk himself. Like, I thought it was fine. It's the closest to Hulk we've gotten in a while, so I was like, all right, I'll take it. Everything about the interactions what bothered me, not necessarily Red Hulk himself.
The fight was bullshit, and honestly, it would have meant more to me if Isaiah had shown up at the last minute to save Sam's ass. But no.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that a lot. Drew, that's your idea. That's a good idea. I sent you, Josh, like 3 really great depictions of the leader that like they could have used this inspiration, or like.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you could pull them up, but like these are 3 different ones that I've seen before that I think. All they had to do was look through a pile of some of these different depictions, because there's so many different designs, and there's some really good ones. That have been super, super cool to see brought to life. And whenever it's my turn, I want to give my what would have made the ending much better.
Yeah, I mean, by all means, go in with what would have made the ending better. Because it needs help.
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's anybody out there is a big Cool Hand Luke fan. I love that movie. Big Paul Newman fan. Paul Newman is rad, and his film catalog is excellent. And Cool Hand Luke is a real interesting one. It's just about this dude who gets arrested for bullshit kind of vandalism. He's like, oh yeah, he's just out to kind of ruin his own life kind of thing. And he ends up on a chain gang. And very early in the movie, it's just one of the most, as a writer, it was a very major lesson for me in like, how you can really make an audience care about a character, and what ultimately you have to make them do, and you got to put them through shit is what you got to do. There's this scene between Cool Hand Luke and this main kind of antagonist that's set up within the prison dragline, who is the big brutish guy who everybody else listens to because he's the biggest guy in the prison, and if you don't listen to him, he's going to kick your ass. But Cool Hand Luke refuses to listen, and they have fights out in the yard like one day a week. And out in the yard, they go when Dragline finally gets, he has had enough of Cool Hand Luke's bullshit. Of course, he's not called that yet. He starts beating the shit out of Paul Newman's character. And he beats him up and knocks him to the ground, and the guy's getting up and getting up and getting up. But after like a dozen times of him getting up and getting bloody, he keeps getting up, and everybody around him is now trying to convince him to stop. No, stop it, man. He's going to kill you. This is stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. And now finally, as it gets to the most dire part of this beating, because he just refuses to give up, Dragline himself now is holding him up, carries him off after he picks him up, and Cool Hand Luke punches him in the face again, refusing to give up the fight because he's not going to give in. And, this is any fucking student of classic film knows about this scene. This is the movie where what we have here is failure to communicate comes from. And when you see that reference, it's because people who are writers like me and any of you guys who are students of film, we go to seek out these wonderful films that have been made. And anybody who's seen that movie knows how to make a fight between a fucking person who is completely outmatched into something meaningful for the outmatched opponent, especially when it's going to end with him talking him out of being the Hulk. If they had literally just made this fight brutal, that to me was the only sort of excuse they could make. Break some fucking bones, rip these damn wings off. Let's go. It's the Red Hulk versus him. He struggled with the portly dude at the beginning of the movie. This is insane. You might as well go all the way with it and have him through bloody, missing teeth going, your daughter is and then have him cool out. There we go. I love it. You earned it, Sam. The audience would have been really, really happy with that sort of struggle. And I don't know if this is completely the same sort of thing that comes with like a big DEI problem. It's like, but every single time there's representation, and I will call myself out as non-binary because I'm part of the fucking whole LGBT community. And I'm just telling you, the way that the whole DEI thing's been going, it's just a very pushy and uniform way of doing things that really neuters the humanity and makes everybody into caricatures and does all these things in weird ways. And, the more your hero has to struggle to get the thing that they get by the end of the movie, the more your audience is going to demand that they are given it by the end of the movie. I had read a novice screenwriter's screenplay years ago, and this is just like a brief story, but it's all about these girls who were in a girl band and they really wanted to succeed and they really wanted the thing, but everything just sort of happened for them. Like just this guy happens to show up and this happens to happen and that happens to happen. And I told her, I said, your audience is going to hate these girls. They're going to just not want them to get anything that they are receiving in this film because they're not working very hard to get it at all. However, if you were to reverse this, and I gave her like a bunch of really, exacting examples from her script, and I was like, I made this a difficult situation in this way, and this a difficult situation in this way, and this a difficult situation in this way, and then added a few more difficult situations on top of that, working against them, trying to get this thing that they want to have. By the time the movie ends, if you have not given it to them, your audience will riot in the streets. And that's how it goes. The more you make the heroes work for the thing that we want to have happen, the more your audience will demand that it be brought to life.
Yeah, I strongly feel like, and we've mentioned this, but I feel like Isaiah should have been in the final fight. You probably should have had Joaquin in the final fight, and this is where he gets taken out. Like you could have Red Hulk just like destroy his pack and it like explode, and that's why he's got the burn.
There you go. You think Falcon's going to save him, but no, Isaiah comes in to save him at the very, very end. It's just
this is why I think DEI is rearing its ugly head here, because there are so many sort of obvious, and I didn't even think about the Isaiah thing, but I did notice that there was a real choice to just make it a one-on-one battle here. And I think just the unfortunately, story-wise and power dynamic-wise, it just doesn't make sense. And there's no reason not to have included some assistance in one way or another. I think that if it was Steve, he would have gotten some assistance here. This is a
Yeah.
call for assistance sort of situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But they should have been involved. You should have had Sabra get involved if she's got Black Widow training. Let her use some electrocution things, trying to stop him, whatever. And you should have had Betty Ross here. Like if that were Sam's plan of like, I don't care where she is, find her, get her here ASAP because we're just trying to buy time, and no one's gonna get through except for her. But if you had her run in front of Red Hulk like she ran in front of her dad in The Incredible Hulk, and if you would have let Liv Tyler do her scream that just like stabs you in the gut of "Dad, please stop," and that made him stop, I would have believed it. But you've got Sam instead going, "Think about your daughter. Think about the wall." Like I would have thrown a chair at him. And you know what? I probably would have had an attempted comedic line, and I know it won't make sense completely, but when he first started turning into Red Hulk, if you had Sam go up there and be like, Ross, try to reason with them, and like Ross throws a chair, and then you have Sam, it's like, hey, big guy, the sun's getting real low, and then Ross like throws the whole podium, and he's like, it's worth a shot. You throw that in there or something at the very beginning.
Okay, real quick. When Harrison Ford was changing, was I the only one who started thinking of Anchorman 2 when Harrison Ford started changing into
when he becomes the werewolf?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like you should have had this team of people trying to stop him, and like quite frankly, let them fail. It's okay that they fail physically. Like the fact, and Jesse's spot on. You should have had Sam just keep going and not giving up. And honestly, I would have been okay if Isaiah sacrificed himself for Sam, and Sam was like, I can't give up now. Like this guy just gave his life.
Yeah.
He gave his life for me. He gave his life for this country. He's already been imprisoned unjustly for however long he was imprisoned. And like he like let him do those last ditch efforts.
It would have been a great, terrific redemptive arc for the character. So much better than what was done with him in the Captain America Winter Soldier TV show. It would have been amazing.
Yep. And you also could have used this to have Sam actually lead a team to show that he is the right guy to lead this new Avengers. You could have showed that Sam can do that and has that capability.
Like that.
Well, and then if you had left off with this film, because even if you wanted to have some trace of why is Sam Captain America, if you had just left off with this film of Captain America needs to be someone that's going to fight for everyone, and I'm going to fight for everyone. Like I would have been like, fuck yeah, give me another movie. Like he's here to, like, I don't care how bad I'm going to get beat. I'm going to keep fighting.
I said to Aaron on the phone that I had like envisioned some simple scene that I wanted to see in the trailer that would have been so simple to shoot, of like some, typical, what they project as the MAGA, Republican go. So what, you're the Captain America for the colored people? And he could have went, nah, I'm Captain America for everybody. Or I'm Captain America. Nah, I'm just Captain America. Same as ever. Something like that. What a nice, cool moment that would be. And what a unifying sort of, like I had said earlier, and I think you were agreeing, like, this movie was very hesitant to take any sort of moral stance in any real direction. It was very muddled in like what exactly it was kind of standing for or representing.
Yep.
I think there was real quick, John, sorry. I think there was a stance. They did have a stance, but then they saw where the political winds were shifting right around the election, probably, and they were like, you know what? This may not be a good idea for this political stance.
And here's the thing, and we've seen this in comics, we've seen this in films. You can still take those political stances, and it's fine, but just do it with balance. Show both perspectives. That's honestly a good way to do it. Show both perspectives. You can show someone
like that for a while, and then it really jumped dark in the later seasons. But it started out not too bad.
Yeah. But it felt like they tried to do a lot of things and didn't even halfway commit to any of them. It's just like, we're going to throw these out there and see how they respond. And if something works well, we'll use that for the next film. And it ended up making a movie that just, there's nothing to grab onto. There's nothing to sink your teeth into. So I know I've got marketing disaster here. Originally, I was going to kind of go through some of the interviews leading up to it, and Anthony Mackie's like foot and mouth comments about what Captain America should or shouldn't stand for. For the sake of time, because I always promised Drewski we're going to end around 10, and we're pushing 10:30. I do want to say just final comment, and we'll use this as a final comment for everyone. But I think the biggest crime here is this fails to stand up to the standard, fails to live up to the standard of Captain America, of what we expect from Captain America films, Captain America as a character himself, what he's supposed to embody. Like, we don't get really any of that. And there's a reason that people loved these Captain America films from the beginning, because they had so much heart. And they didn't have the heart because you had characters telling us. You got to see Steve really just sacrificing time and time and time and time again because it's the right thing to do. So real quick, I'll go through. We'll start with Dylan, then Drew, then we'll go to Jesse, and just get your final thoughts. If there's anything else you want to say about the film, however you want to wrap this up, this is your time, and then we'll plug everyone's stuff and call it a night after this. But Dylan, final thoughts, my brother.
I think one of the big problems with the movie was it didn't establish why Falcon needs to take the mantle of Captain America. Why does there need to be a Captain America? It doesn't ever really ask that question or answer it. Where it's like, why doesn't he stay as Falcon? Why is he Captain America? There's never any of that explored here, which I think could have been interesting. And I think also a huge problem with the movie is if you look about it, because a lot of people talk about, man, where did we go wrong with from the earlier phases? Where like phase 1 was really good for the most part. It's like, well, phase 1 had a lot of clunky stuff with it, not the best plots, but something that they always nailed was the characters. The characters were fun, they were funny, they were genuine, they had good dialogue, they had chemistry, and none of that's here. Like Anthony Mackie and the guy that plays Falcon had zero chemistry at all. It's really bad. And when they're all bantering together, it's like no one's ever been among a group of guys before. Like, it's really bad. It doesn't feel genuine at all. Because
not natural.
Yeah, movies with not the best plots can coast on character and charisma, but this movie doesn't have any of it. It misses every beat. And I think that's like the big shortfall of this movie, because I just came into this knowing it wasn't going to be good. I'm like, maybe it'll be fun. Maybe there'll be some good action, but doesn't even understand action at all. Like the scene where he fights the Heavy in the beginning, where it's like, oh, this could be cool. Then we got this big guy for him to fight, and he's getting his ass beat the entire time, and then he just knees him in the face and wins the fight. There's no like beats to it at all about like, okay, he discovers this, or he grabs something in the environment, he figures something out, and that's why he's able to beat this guy. It's just no, he just suddenly knees him in the face. It's like, oh, it doesn't even understand how action scenes work. This movie understands nothing.
Yep. I'm gonna piggyback you real quick on the action scenes, because I thought a lot of the hand-to-hand fighting in this was so sluggish. Like it needed to be, that energy needed to be popped up a little bit. And I think of the scene where they went to the holding place for the leader, and they're fighting those soldiers who are brainwashed, and it's all hand-to-hand. My biggest thing is when I can go watch a show, and I'm just going to use this as perspective because technically you had the same people behind the scenes kind of working on stuff. When you can go and get a Marvel television show like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that works on a network television schedule, and they're filming full hour-long episodes within 6 to 7 days, and they can choreograph, set up, film, and execute fight scenes week after week that are better than what we got in this film, that's bullshit. Like, try harder. So I don't know. Dylan, was there anything else you wanted to add, or are we good to go to Drew?
No, you can go to Drew. That's basically all I wanted to say.
Drew.
There was not a memorable fight scene in that whole movie. I can't think of a single one.
No,
you're right. And speaking of that, I mean, at least most of the Captain America films, there have been some interesting fights and some memorable fights. I will say in The Winter Soldier, for me, as a UFC fan, I love seeing him fight Batroc the Leaper on the boat. Yeah. I fucking love that scene. GSP. But
the TV show was good too. In the canyon, the Falcon flying, that stuff was good. That was on the TV show.
Yeah.
But here, there really wasn't anything that memorable. And what the stuff we talked about that we wanted to see in this film got me excited to see this film, this fictional film that's not going to happen now. And and which is much more exciting than the actual film we got, and which leads me to be disappointed by this. And yeah, a lot of the choices that were made, the changes that were made, it just turned into a generic Netflix action film you could get. And it for me, it's not the worst. It's not the best. It's right there, just a lower middle, right around Thor: The Dark World. It's just there. Nah.
Yeah. Quick note, because you mentioned Netflix action scene. The stunt coordinator for Daredevil is the same stunt coordinator that did Winter Soldier. That's why the hand-to-hand combat looks so good in both. Like, that guy's just freaking bomb.
There you go. That's what he's doing.
Jesse, final thoughts.
When I was a high-functioning autistic kid in school, I loved American propaganda, and I was like over the moon. Like, I loved what America stood for, honesty and virtue and all these things. And I remember when I got older and I started to look into things more deeply, and I was super disenchanted about what had been done in America's name. And I remember having a bit of like a crisis of conscience where I was like, well, that doesn't mean I want to like leave America. I still believe in the idea that these things are representative of an idea of a person, an ideal and virtuous being going around trying to do right on planet Earth and trying to live in a good way that benefits everybody and leads to greater freedom. I believe in that. And just because, those assholes in charge haven't been doing a good job, I'm going to stick with it, So I remember when I got into comics, I was reluctant to read Captain America because I saw him as this like propaganda brought to life sort of thing. And then I remember one of the elder statesmen of the comic book store telling me, well, that's actually not true. Famously, Captain America became nomad and rejected the Captain America mantle when he got to a point with the U.S. government where he felt like he could not back them up. He didn't want to represent what they were currently representing. And ultimately, he came back to the mantle because he felt like somebody had to stand for what America is supposed to represent. And that, to me, is what Captain America is, what that suit means. It's what America is supposed to represent. And as long as you're telling a story about what America is supposed to represent being more important than what it does represent, then you're always telling a Captain America story as far as I'm concerned. Any villain who shows up is representing the not good America and Captain America's saving things. But there are much more interesting and intricate storylines that go through. And this isn't that, and Anthony Mackie saying all the things that he said, I think really point a clear finger about the thinking. They don't understand that Steve Rogers and the suit represent what we're supposed to be, what we're trying to be, what we hope to be, what little kids are told in school America is supposed to represent. You're not supposed to demonize the ideal. That's the crazy thing that has been going on in the comics, the American way and Superman and Captain America. They're making it bad, the America, and they're crucifying people who are trying to embody an ideal for having an ideal that hasn't always been met, as their namesake. They are the ideal always being met. That's the whole thing with that's why we read people who read Captain America, lots of us are patriots who love our country and want to see the ideal being met. And the main thing, I did my podcast on this show right before I went to go see the movie because I kind of knew, and I didn't want to indict it directly. I didn't want it to be a podcast of me ripping the new movie apart for not being this. But that is what Captain America is. It is the ideal in action. And it's a pretty simple thing, actually, to execute. And it's relatively easy to pass it on to anybody, Sam Wilson included, if you simply honor that. If you have Sam going, that was a whole good idea that Steve had, this whole idea of honoring the American ideal. that's a real good idea. But really, when the creative people involved literally don't know that that's the whole idea behind Captain America, and that yes, absolutely, Captain America represents those specific. Yes, he represents the propagandized great American who flew over during World War II to save the Jews and help all of you Brits and everybody out of a jam. We, the people who have a good mind about America, we were sold that, and we believed that, and we liked it, and we haven't let go of the idea that, well, that could be and should be true. Wouldn't it be nice if we could be that? That's what Captain America has always been to me, and it was really a bummer spiritually that played no part in the film. So, it was a nothing burger, but also Captain America is one of the most meaningful characters in comic books. And because it transcends America, it is an example of what we could be and what anybody could be following the basic tenets of what the American ideal that was at least propagandized to us was. And, it's a shame when you see a Superman movie and you don't leave feeling hopeful. It's a shame when you see a Captain America movie and you don't leave feeling anything either. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah. That exactly what you're talking about is one of the things that I think I missed the most from this film, that I was hoping to get, that I was hoping we'd get that sense, that ideal, and we didn't.
And so hoping to get some hope.
Yep. And I feel for Cap the way I feel about Superman. And Dylan, I know you're a huge Supes fan, but like, I feel like they're meant to be the best of us. They're meant to be the characters that inspire us to be better, to set that example so we can be better. And this film didn't manage to execute that. Factor in, I don't think it's an awful film. I think it missed a lot of opportunities that are honestly like elementary 101 storytelling opportunities, and then on top of it, I thought a lot of the execution from the dialogue, just the script writing in general, and then even the way they filmed certain shots and filmed action sequences, it was all very just ham-fisted, poorly executed. So for me, it's a lot of just like Drew said before, death by 1,000 cuts, and they're not deep cuts, but God, it's just a ton of small issues that pile up, and it's almost like one of those things. Like, I wish I would have had something that made me more pissed off, because then I would have felt more justified in saying this is a crap film. But it's not. It's just a mediocre, generic film across the board, and that almost makes it worse.
Yeah, nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. And then we didn't really talk about this, but part of the problem we have here is that scene where Bucky does come in, and Bucky says, "Oh, Steve was an inspiration to people, but you're an aspiration for people." And I'm like, yeah, but Steve was that too. So this makes no sense. And I think kind of what we're talking about, and what you mentioned, Jesse, about America in the 1940s and what we did. Bucky is the perfect character to come in and say, when I went to war, this is what we believed America to be. And then now that I'm back, I've learned that we weren't exactly who we claimed to be or thought we were. And that's all the more reason that we need someone like you, not race, not anything else, but character, like what you represent, to what you stand for, to show what America can be. And if he had said that, I would have been like, chill bumps, I'm on board. Let's go. Falcon Cap all the way. I'm there. Give me another film.
What if he had said, and it's going to take somebody like you to make them do better, Senator?
No, we're done. he should have said, do better, Congressman, to Bucky. Do better, Congressman. Now that Bucky's becoming a congressman.
Isn't it worse that that's the main thing that we remember from that TV show?
Oh. It's bad. Yeah, that's bad. That's the main takeaway. We're gonna wrap things up with that. I've got to get my little Drewski to bed. So, Drew, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook as Dolan Waddick. You can find me on Instagram, Dolan_Waddick. I'm going to be posting a bunch of the new projects I'll be working on this year, and a big announcement coming this June.
Nice. Jesse, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Oh, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Twitter. I think Coolest Geek JBS is my handle on most of the things, or Jesse Blaze. But I have a really cool, fun band called Dilf USA. We're like a comedy party band, rock band, pop rock band, whatever. But you can check us out on YouTube. And of course, I do the Coolest Geek Alive podcast every Wednesday and Saturday, which is wherever you get your podcasts. But one last little thing, we haven't talked about this yet, but Aaron Sparrow is involved, and our buddy Digger Mesh is involved, and a few of our other friends. We're doing an anthology magazine in the next couple months. It's going to be launching. You can already sign up for notifications on Kickstarter. It's called Sugar and Bones, and it'll be basically one part heavy metal magazine and then like a little bit of like a creative person. What's that magazine where they used to do like photo spreads and stuff? Maxim, like kind of a creative person, Maxim magazine for creative people, like entertainment and things on creativity. So I'm really excited. We're producing the whole thing and working on all the covers right now. And Aaron's got some one of Colonel Silverstreak from Doomface is going to be showing up in the book in a short, and we've got a whole bunch of shorts from a bunch of different creators, and it's really exciting. So if you are into anthology comic books, if you love Aaron or anything that I've ever worked on, please go over to Kickstarter and sign up for notifications for the Sugar and Bones magazine.
Nice. If you'll send me that link, I'll end up updating the description and putting that in there for you.
Sure,
yeah, man. And then Dylan, where can people find you, man? Thank you for coming to the show. It's your first time on. I was excited when I heard you were interested in coming on, so we'll have to get you back for more. But if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Thanks for having me. It was fun. You can find me, The Real Comic Gamer, on YouTube. Just talk all things comics. And then at _RCBG on Twitter.
Heck yes. And then some Saturdays you were with Wes on Comics Aficionados talking about some good old floppies. Comic book stuff. More
yeah, they're like basically every other week I'm on Comics Aficionados.
Hell yeah. So you can find him there. Go check out his channel. Give him a like and subscribe. And just go support him. He's a really, really chill dude. And I feel like we tend to like miss each other on Comics Aficionados, but every now and then we align. Whenever Wes has a DC focused show, we're there.
Yeah.
And then we had that one random one that was Marvel focused, and he had you, me, and Jim. We're like, we're all DC guys, man. What are you doing?
We had it where we were on like the same for a couple like a month or two. We were on like every show together, and then he switched, like changed the schedule to where like now I'm with a consistent group and you're with a consistent other group.
Yeah, I've been a little inconsistent lately because work's been crazy for me, but hopefully we'll get back to normal soon. As far as me, you can find me at Joshua L. McDonald on X. If you want to follow Pop Culture, it's at By Popped on X. So you'll get more just nerd focused stuff over there. You get who knows what on mine. Just, it's a gambit there. Coming up for the channel next week, we have our comic book club, and we'll be discussing Batman Year One. Super excited to talk about this. I also have a secondary video that'll be posting for our members, I should say. So if you're a member of the channel, you'll get it. But it's a video we did discussing the same book back when I was with Batman News. So it's the Batman News crew. That'll get uploaded as well, just in case you want even more conversations about this comic. But we're going to have a fun panel coming together for this yet again. And this has actually become one of my favorite things to film because I just love going back and talking about good comic books. Other than that, beginning March, we do have X-Men finally coming. I apologize. I'm getting back in the swing of things and forgot about all these copyright blocks, and I don't want to get shuttered out because we're, combating copyright. So this will finally land first Monday of March. We'll get back on schedule with this. We've got this, and then Iron Man will come the month after, and then I've got the crew that I got to get back together to re-record or start recording these episodes again. And of course, the first Tuesday in March, I will have Dolan coming with me, and we'll do our monthly opener with top 5 comics. And it's going to be, another example of us not knowing how to count, because I'm sure we'll have 10 to 15 comics yet again. But I do want to thank everyone for coming on. Thank you for the chat, for commenting. Thank you to Corey for coming in with super chats. Thank you to those who are members of the channel. And I will talk to y'all soon. But I'm going to let my little Drewski get to bed because he is East Coast and he's got an early morning. So thank you again. Good night. And I will talk to y'all soon.